Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Mental Training Secrets for Success. I'm your host, David Snyder. And as is our tradition, we're simulcasting both through our Zoom platform here, as well as our YouTube channel. So for those of you on the YouTube stream, if this is your first time with us, a couple things. There is about a 45 to 60-second delay between when we actually say things in the Zoom platform and when it shows up in your area. So if you are, I have a few administrative things before we get into tonight's topic. First and foremost, if this is your first time with us, please type in first time and your name and where you're checking in from. If you're not a first timer, which we have quite a few return members and participants on the channel, which I absolutely love, please type in your name and type in that you're a veteran. And because I'm going to ask you to help me out throughout the course of this webinar, primarily because if you've been on webinars with me or other people before, you've often seen a lot of activity going on in our chats. And many times what happens is really good questions fly by. And because I have to stick to a particular format, I don't get a chance to answer correctly. So for those of you who've been through Planet David, who've been around for a while, been to some of our trainings, who actually have applied the skills being talked about in the real world, feel free to answer the questions from our first timers or our members participating with us for the first time. I'm a teacher who likes interactivity. So for me, webinars where all I get to see is a chat are kind of challenging for me because I like to see your faces and I like to hear your questions and be able to interact with you. But you're here to learn some really powerful stuff. And my job is to give that to you in the most direct and accessible way possible. So a few administrative details that we need to get out of the way, then I'll start the official presentation. First of all, if politically incorrect language, colorful metaphors, swearing, or the words boobies offend you, this is probably not the best use of your next 90 minutes to 3 hours or 4 hours, however long we're going to go tonight. Which brings us to the second point. If you're used to the traditional type of, tease for 90 minutes and then pitch, buy my product, buy my $20,000 product at the end of the webinar, you're probably going to be disappointed on a number of levels. First and foremost, we don't do traditional webinars. What our goal at Planet David, or as we like to call it, the transformation superhighway, is we want you to come away from this webinar with things that you can use immediately, things that they're actionable. You can put them to work immediately and go out and make changes for yourself and in your world. So that is our goal. About 90, there is always an offer, because when we try to supplement the training and the information that we give you in this class with follow-ups, where to go next, where to take the next step. So if this is the scope of everything there is to cover, we have time for this. So my commitment to you in this webinar is I will take you as far as I can in the time that we have. And then I will point you in the direction of where to go to take the next step to level up. Is that a fair trade? If you think if it's a fair trade, go ahead and type it in the chat. Cool. We have a lot of awesome people in the chats, a lot of new people. I love that. Excellent. Perfect. Now, a couple other things. Like I said before, if you're used, especially if this is your first time and you're used to the traditional 90-minute webinar that many of us are conditioned to experiencing, this is not going to be like that. Here's how we do our webinars. For the first 90 minutes or so, 90 minutes, 60 to 90 minutes, we deliver as much foundational content as we can. We give you enough stuff that you can, if you had to leave at 90 minutes, you could go out into the world and make changes. Then what we do is we give you a chance to see what we've got in store for you in terms of an offer. We present the offer, it takes about, anywhere, depending on questions and things like that, 20 to 30 minutes. Then what we do is we come back to the main webinar and we continue to teach for the next 90 minutes. And we continue to deliver the next level and the next level and the next level. So you can take this stuff right from the webinar, go out into the field and just put it to work. That's our goal at NLP Power. That's what we want for you. We don't want to tease you and tease you and tease you and then say, now buy my $20,000 product and all the secrets of the universe will be revealed. That's horse shit in my world. I think that if you're going to show somebody a way to get the life they want, the way they want it, you need to give them something they can experience right off the bat. You need to give them something they can use. And so once you got that, we'll show you where to go to take it further, if that's cool with you. Is that a good trade? Yes or yes, right? You go ahead and type it in the chat for me, because that's the only way I know you're listening. I'm a teacher who thrives on feedback. I'll tell you that right now, just like anybody who's on YouTube, we love attention, but I like it to be a fair trade. I want to give you the tools that you need. We're going to teach you in this webinar the foundations for how your system and your mind and body work together. We're going to teach you the structures of how everything that makes you works, and how to put it together into the basis of a system that you can begin to reprogram your subconscious mind for success, remove limiting beliefs, clear your past traumas. All kinds of stuff comes from the foundations in this webinar. So the other thing that we do is we do our very best to tailor the content of the webinar to what you want. So I'm going to be interacting with you, and I'm going to ask you to do exercises. I'm going to ask you to get up and sit down and do things, which brings us to the next important administrative piece. There are a lot of exercises in this webinar that involve altering your state of consciousness. In other words, trance. Whether you realize you're in trance or not, it doesn't matter. But what you need to do is you need to make sure that you're not doing any of these exercises while you're driving a car or operating any kind of equipment or machinery that requires your full and undivided attention. If you're listening to this webinar while you're driving, if you're doing something important that requires you to be focused for safety reasons or what have you, by all means listen to the webinar, but avoid doing the exercises until you can find a safe time where you can go back, watch the replay, do whatever. Okay, we're going to be covering a lot of material. Some of it, if you've been on some of our early webinars, will be familiar to you. Other things you may not have heard before. You may not have heard them taught in this way. So that being said, is it okay to begin the process? Is it okay to begin the official presentation? Cool. All right, so let me go ahead and jump to my PowerPoint and answer the most fundamental question for those of you who are new to Planet David. And that, of course, is, who the heck is David Snyder and why should I care? So for those of you who are brand new to Planet David, I'm a doctor of Oriental Medicine, and that's a copy of my doctorate degree from Pacific College of Oriental Medicine. I've been a practicing acupuncturist since 2005. I run a clinic in Solana Beach, California, where my specialty is treating physiological illness that has as its roots repressed emotion. So while many people focus in the NLP and hypnosis world, they focus on like weight loss and nail biting and smoke cessation. Some do life coaching, things of that nature. The focus of my clinical practice has been on relieving the results of repressed trauma and emotion. In other words, shit from your past, and putting things in that people want and getting rid of things people don't want. In many cases, they've repressed these emotions to the point where they've caused themselves to have a physiological illness. Now, in case you're wondering, about 8 out of 10 things that go into a doctor's office, chronic illnesses, can be linked back to negative early childhood emotional traumas and adverse events. If you want to look up the research on that, there was a study called the ACE study, Adverse Childhood Experiences. If you just type in ACE study, you'll get a ton of references to that. You can also go to PubMed and learn about that. So that's what I've been doing professionally in terms of how I help people live a better life since 2005. Now I have a lot more going on since before 2005, but we still have an active practice. So let's go back to our presentation and just get through the bio part here. So again, this is a copy of my doctorate degree. For the last, this year, 2020, I was named the #1 NLP trainer in the world by globalgurus.org. For the last 3 years, I was named on the top 2 NLP trainers in the world. And I've authored over 15 different products on various forms of human influence, everything from hypnotherapy trainings to advanced persuasion, attraction, and dating practices and techniques, lie detection, 4 levels of conversational hypnosis and how to utilize that anytime, anywhere, for any reason. And I've specialized in helping people create very practical systems for themselves to go out and get the life they want the way they want it. So this year we were voted #1 by globalgurus.org, and that's largely because of focuses on, the inspiration and the input of people like you who have taken our materials out into the world and have really enjoyed the benefits of applying that. And everything we do in this webinar is something that you need to apply. This is a letter from globalgurus.org, and it says, "Dear David, it is with great pleasure to announce that your training program, Killer Influence, has been chosen by the global peers and ranked as the #1 best NLP program in the world," which is really cool if you think about it, because I didn't even know there was even a contest for this. And of course, there's a copy of all the courses that were in the running. You can see NLP Power and Killer Influence was named the #1 NLP program in the world. So I thought that was pretty cool. I also have a background in the martial arts. I hold a 10th degree black belt in Ryukyu Kempo. And hold on a second, we got somebody who likes to show off here. There we go. He has been banished. Anyway, Grandmaster 10th degree black belt in Ryukyu Kempo Karate. I also have a 4th degree black belt in Shaolin Kun Tao, 2nd degree black belt in Kosho Kempo Ryu, 1st degree black belt in Fankuru Jiu Jitsu. I'm also a certified instructor in Combat Sistema and 2 forms of Eskrima, both Cinco Mano and Modern Arnis. Now, a lot of people say when they see, and I also have a ton of energy healing credentials for those of you who are interested in my energetics background, because there is going to be a large energetic component in this webinar. For those of you, because I didn't list it in the webinar, but I've been a Reiki master since since about 1992. I have a master's teacher certification in that. I have degrees in pranic psychotherapy as well as pranic healing, advanced pranic healing, DNA theta healing, Bankston energy healing system. I've been a practitioner of hermetic skills and Qigong systems for many, many years, including Taoist esoteric yoga. So I have a lot of background in the energetic skills as well. I'm certified in holographic memory resolution through Brent Baum. And all of these things that we're talking about are going to come together in this webinar into a synergistic, systematic progression that allows you to make very powerful, positive changes very, very rapidly. Okay, so let's go back to the webinar here. And let's see. Okay, so now, as I was alluding to before, what do all these things actually have in common? Well, 2 things actually. The ability to control your state and the ability to recognize patterns. And when I say patterns in this context, what I'm actually talking about is a structure. You see, there are certain building blocks that everything about our subjective world works from. And once you understand how to recognize those structures and those patterns, and you can combine that with your ability to enter an altered state of consciousness or enter any type of psycho-emotional state as an act of will, you can pretty much write your own ticket in this world. So what does all this stuff have to do with success, health, wealth, and happiness? Well, as you can probably surmise, pretty much everything. Everything that you're going to endeavor to do, everything you're going to seek to achieve in this world is going to come down to the ability to get into the right psycho-emotional state, control your thoughts, ordain your destiny. So we're going to talk a little bit about some of that Napoleon Hill stuff as we get deeper into this training, but we're going to do it from a very functional level. We're going to do it from a level where you can actually make changes right away. Okay, so is this the right place for you though? Well, this class is for you if you're interested in maybe becoming super attractive or charismatic to the opposite sex, if you'd like to make them find you more charming, fascinating, and irresistible. Is that something that might be useful? If you'd like to banish fear and insecurity from your life and radiate confidence and assertiveness and charisma, would that be useful, right? If you don't think your wife wants you to be more attractive, guess again, make more money from your job, book more clients for your business, get that raise or promotion you know you deserve. This is the right place for you. If you'd like to learn how to protect yourself from manipulators and people who are easily handle difficult people, this is going to be something that you are going to be glad you stayed for. Okay. If you'd like to program yourself to create massive financial abundance and have more money to buy the things you want and then some, stay tuned. This is going to be a very, very important webinar for you. If you'd like to nail 2 or 3 job interviews on the spot and have them salivating to hire you, pay attention, because many of the things that we're going to be talking about in this webinar will go directly to how you're perceived by the people you interview with and how you respond to their particular questions and things of that nature. If you'd like to learn how to inspire your employees, your children, or your spouse to get them to do whatever you want, to help them perform better when you want them to do it, this is probably a good place for you. If any of these things are resonating with you, type yes in the chat and which ones resonate most with you so I know where to focus on today. Okay. If you're one of those people who fantasize about being a Jedi, would like to have the ability to kind of put people under your spell just by talking to them, this is probably a good place for you. We're going to show you some really, really powerful ways to change people's states by changing your own. Okay. Now we're going to do this in the context of controlling yourself. The fastest way to control somebody else's state is to change yours first. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to teach you the ins and outs of state control to the limits that we can on a webinar like this. And then what we're going to do is we're going to show you how to take that and just keep adding the next layer and the next layer and the next layer and the next layer. Okay. Is that cool? Is everybody good with that? Cool. Get employed as well. Yeah, you can learn. Yeah. One of the biggest things that's going to happen is you're going to learn one of the most important things you can, which is how to manage first impressions through your state. Because it's the visceral feeling that people have when they first interact with you, in the first 7 seconds of their interaction with you, that frames every word that comes out of your mouth, every behavior you generate from that moment on. And if you can nail that first 7 seconds and control the frame, then everything that comes out of your mouth has that halo around it that they'll wrap your words in. Okay. Well, it starts with rapport for sure, Sherry Ann, but it's more than that. There's an energy field around the body that we're going to discuss and we're going to play with significantly from a very different perspective. We're not going to be talking about auras per se. We're going to be talking about what I call the proprioceptive grid and the structure of human thoughts and how it all interacts physiologically as well as cognitively. So that's where we're going to go. And we need to start with the foundations. I have to make the assumption, even though a lot of you have been into my webinars before, a lot of you have seen some of these foundations, I have to treat everyone as if it's their first time. So I know that some of you might sometimes get a little bit impatient because I'm covering the basics, but basics are basics for a reason. If you don't have good basics, you don't have jack. Okay. Okay. So people in the YouTube are absolutely in love with the Jedi stuff, and that's cool. They actually used to call our school Jedi School. So let me go back to the PowerPoint. And by the way, I hate PowerPoints. I've put notes together for you, and I will be jumping in and out of the PowerPoint because I think it's important to have, to have a face to talk to. That's just my personal bias. Okay. Let's see here. So yeah, cool. All right. So here's my personal promise to you. If you stay until the end of the webinar, I'm going to share with you the fastest, most powerful and direct way to reprogram your mind and body for unlimited success, health, wealth, and happiness. I will show you how to put a dead stop halt to procrastination, how to remove blocks to your success, how to get rid of negative emotions, fear, pain, and or limiting beliefs. And I will give you the exact steps needed to go from interesting information to maximum transformation, how to get the life you want, the way you want it in minimum time, in the shortest amount of time possible. If you stay until the end, this is what we're going to cover throughout the course of the webinar. So some of this we'll cover before the break, some of it we'll cover after the offer, and we'll just keep going. Like I said, we're going to cover as much content as we can in the 60 to 90 minutes leading up to the offer. And then we're going to do our offer, and then we're going to come back and we're going to continue to teach these topics. Actually, I added one extra topic, so you have a little extra content coming your way. So first thing we're going to cover is the two most important factors for success. It's not what you think, or maybe it is. Rules of the mind, the ones they did not tell you about. We're going to talk about body-centered energy psychology and how your system really works and how you can begin to use it right away to begin to change your mind and body and program your future and clear your past, which is really what comes next, is learning how to use what we've learned in the first 4 modules or the first 4 bullets to program your future, clear your past, and finally to show you step by step what to do next and how to get the life you want, the way you want it, master yourself inside and out, and finally take control. Does that sound like a good agenda for today? If you think that's a good plan for today, go ahead and type that in the chat for me. So yes, it's good. Let's do this. Cool. Excellent. Excellent, excellent, excellent. I'm glad. Let's see here. I'm going to try as much as I can to keep to the 60 to 90 minute rule for the first part, but we'll see where we go. Cool. Dragon says, please share this now. I can stay till the end, but I have to wake up and go to work. That's okay, Dragon. You can come back and pick it up on the replay. There will be a replay for this. So the offer that we're having is time sensitive. So you may not be able to take advantage of the offer if you wait too long, but by all means, the content will be there. Okay. Okay. So here's my first question to you. And this is probably one of the most important questions that we're going to ask today. What do you specifically want to learn about today? What's the biggest, most important question about programming your mind for success, health, wealth, and happiness that you would like the answer to? I want it to be the primary emotional reason why you jumped on this webinar. If you had all the skills that we're going to share with you in this webinar, what's it for? What's your why, so to speak? What's it going to do for you, right? Okay, and I want you to go ahead and take a moment. I want you to do two things for me. First, I want you to type your answer in the chat. And then I want you to write, if you have a piece of paper or a notebook or something, I want you to write that thing that you want to get from the tools in this webinar on a piece of paper, because we're having some exercises coming up that this information is going to factor into, because I want you to just attach what you want to doing everything that you're told to do in this webinar. Okay. Got some good questions in the YouTube channel. Overcome imposter syndrome, very cool. How to trade stocks without emotional attachment, very excellent. How to stop procrastination. Oh, okay, we got some good stuff here. Break fear of success. Want to get out, make videos, make an offer, grow my business. Interaction with people's customers and employees. Fundamentals of state control. All right, helping a broken soul. You have to elaborate on that one, RM. I don't know what that means. Resources, working as a hypnotherapist, buying my first house and land. Okay, cool. These are all good. These are all good, pardon me. All right, so go ahead and make sure you write that down outside of the chat. We're going to be circling back to that throughout the course of this webinar, because everything starts with what you want and the emotions behind it. Most effective way to improve self-image. Okay, you're going to get the foundations. Everything you guys have mentioned, you're going to get the foundations for. You're going to get the foundations for, okay? Cool. Now here's, let me jump back to just looking at you. A couple of things I want you to embrace as we go into the content for today. First and foremost, it is not necessary. It is not necessary for you to believe everything I say in order for it to work for you. You don't have to believe any of it. All you got to do is do it. Okay. And we're going to talk about certain things throughout this webinar that you may think you understand. I'm going to talk about words like focus and imagination and absorption. And you might think you know what I'm talking about. Most people don't. They think they know, but they don't. So we're going to be doing some exercises to lay the foundation for you about what focus means, what absorption means, what playfulness means, and those things, because you have to understand how this works in terms of altering your state. Nothing human beings do happens without altering your state of consciousness. Everything human beings do, from the decisions they make to the emotions they feel and the behaviors that arise from it, happens because of an emotional motivation, an emotional drive that we have. Many times we're conscious of that emotional motivation. Many times we aren't. Okay. So as we go through these exercises, the first thing that we're going to be teaching you is about how to alter your state of consciousness to a function, to a level where you can get functional change in a few moments. Okay. But I'll be truth be told, human beings are trance machines. They go into altered states very, very fluidly, very, very seamlessly. They, you know, I make a joke to my hypnosis students that a monkey can put somebody into trance. The problem is that what do you do with them once you've got them in trance? And that's a big problem, because most people don't know what to do once they're in that trance state. And so when they go into those trance states, they're usually doing shit that messes them up. Okay. So let me go back to this. Let me see, I make sure that I'm not missing anything on my PowerPoint. Okay, so this is a copy of a process we've called the Identity by Design process. Now, the information that you're going to be learning in this webinar are derived from this full length. This whole thing encompasses the 5-day training. And we'll talk about how you can get the whole training later on. But we're going to be incorporating elements from this particular process. The identity by design process is a hypnotic silo of techniques that we developed to allow people to systematically customize the building blocks of their identity and personality. Now, identity and personality are two very important terms that we have to address when we talk about the two most important ingredients to becoming successful. So if you look at the identity by design process, first thing we're going to teach you we would teach you how to do in identity by design is to clear the general negativity in your life. These are negative thoughts, beliefs, feelings that you didn't even know you had. It's kind of like soaking the pot, before you scrub it or put it in the dishwasher. Now, some of you have been on the YouTube for a while, may have seen techniques like the gray room or universal solvent or the safe place induction. These are examples of what we call general negativity clearing techniques. We as practitioners, we as clients don't even need to know what the problem is. As long as we can point to where we feel it in our bodies and reach out and interact with the constructs, we can get change. And that's what's beautiful about much of what we're going to be doing is you don't have to share practically anything with your therapist, or in some cases yourself. A lot of times you don't even need to consciously know what the problem is in order to fix it. We'll show you how to leverage that system very, very quickly. Okay. Once you've learned how to clear general negativity, we're going to remove specialized negativity. Now, this is going to factor in very, very powerfully in today's training, because what happens many times is as we move through this journey called life, we encounter situations and circumstances and events where we start off great and then the shit hits the fan and things lock. Now, the best example that I can give is when I have clients who come in who have a fear of success, and what they say with this fear of success is actually what is known as a safety lesson. Safety lessons are rules that your unconscious mind makes up without your conscious knowledge, without your conscious consent. So let me give you a hypothetical so you can understand how this works. Now, this works in relationships. This works in business. It works in anything where people have had a level of success, lost it, started from scratch, had a level of success, lost it, and then started building up again. And for some reason, they can't seem to get any further, right? If you've ever had an experience like that, where you just you get to a certain point and everything just seems to stop or blows up, go ahead and type that in the chat, right? All right, because what you're dealing with is what we call in Planet David, safety lessons. Okay, so let me explain to you what the unconscious process is regarding that. Remember something that there's something really important that you need to understand about your unconscious mind. It loves you. It loves you more than anybody on the planet. The problem is it's highly emotional, deeply intelligent, but it doesn't think about the future, so to speak. It doesn't necessarily think about the long-term consequences or ramifications of the rules it makes. And it doesn't need your permission many times to decide something. And that's one of the things that we need to understand is we need to understand, how does this system work? And how can we create a more fluid communication with it so it doesn't just arbitrarily make decisions about how our life should be without our conscious input? Would that be more useful to have more conscious input in what your unconscious mind decides to do? If you think that's useful, type it in the chat, right? Okay, so let's talk about this concept of safety lessons. So using the business example, right? But it could also be a relationship example. If you've ever started a relationship, gotten to a certain point in that relationship, and then if it blows up, you start another relationship, it gets to the same point in that relationship and it blows up again. And by the time you get to the third or fourth repetition, you can't even get started with the process. What's going on from the perspective of your unconscious mind? Remember, one of the prime directives of your unconscious mind is to keep you safe. And so anytime you encounter a situation where you experience emotional pain, right? Whether it's the loss of a business, whether it's the loss of a loved one, whatever happens, right? What happens is after about the second or third time, the unconscious mind, you start entering this new relationship, you want to start that next business. The unconscious mind says, okay, this is what he wants to do, what she wants to do. What happened the last time we did this? Oh shit. Every time they've started a business, they've had tremendous success and then lost it and felt terrible. I've got to protect them from having that pain. I've got to keep them from being hurt. How can I do that? I know. if he never has another successful business, he can never lose it, and he can never feel that pain again. Same thing goes with a relationship, right? Relationship goes bad, boom. Okay, we hurt, we pick ourselves up, we dust ourselves off, we go do it again. Relationship goes bad, boom, we pick ourselves off, we dust ourselves off, we start to get going again. And for some reason, we see that person is obviously fits what we want, obviously our type, if there is such a thing, but for some reason, we can't make the approach. We hold them at arm's length. We just can't move forward. What you're dealing with now is the unconscious mind saying, if I have to protect this person from ever being hurt again, so I'm going to make sure that they never have it so they can never lose it. Now, from the conscious, rational, logical, which is really a misnomer, perspective, that doesn't make any fucking sense. From the perspective of a deeply intelligent, logically challenged, highly emotional 10-year-old, makes perfect sense, right? If you've ever had a kid who went to a class and didn't do well and never wanted to go back in again, right? Maybe you were one of those. I was, right? This is what we're talking about, right? So one of the things that we're going to show you, and this is why this silo that I'm sharing with you, this 7-stage process that I'm sharing with you here, is so important. Because in this webinar specifically, the place that we deal with that is here. We call it special negativity. And one of the problems with special negativity is that, let's say you go to a therapist or you go to a coach, right? And if you've ever went to a therapist for something, for a specific problem, and you went to the therapist and it went away in the therapist's office, but sometime after you left the therapist's office, it came back. You're dealing with safety lessons. You're dealing with negativity that is being held in a special way to prevent you from making the same mistake. Because one of the other things that happens with safety lessons is the unconscious mind has a vested interest in holding on to that negativity because there's a lesson attached to it. See, one of the problems that the unconscious mind has is, it's not a problem, it's a prime directive, is to keep you safe. So it makes up rules about what you can have and what you can't. And so one of the things that happens is when you go to get rid of a problem, the first thing it looks at is, what will happen if I let this go? Now, I don't know if you've ever tried to unmake soup, but when people create a holographic memory container, we're going to talk about that later on in the webinar. When people encode an experience, a belief, a memory, what have you, they also encode the safety lessons and the context in which that was created. And so what happens is everything is mixed in there like a big soup. And so it looks at what you want to get rid of, and it says to itself, oh shit, if I let this go, he might lose the lesson that came along with it. He'll forget the lesson and it'll happen to him again. So I can't afford to take the risk of letting that, for him forgetting this lesson. So I'm just going to hold on to everything. So many times when you do, and if you've ever done any kind of color breathing or spinning, and you've gotten from like a 9 to a 2 or a 1, and then it hits a 2 or a 1 and it just doesn't go any further, or it goes away and then it comes back, chances are, high probability, I'd say 8, 9 out of 10 probability, you're dealing with a safety lesson. Okay, so this idea of special negativity that we're talking about is critical to moving forward in your life. Okay, does that make sense? If you're with me so far, go ahead and type that in the chat. Okay, cool. D says, I bet many successful people have amazing lives and are happy. Might not want to bet on that one, but chances are they're happier, right? Everybody's got something. So let me just put that out there. Okay. So let's do this. Let's jump back into this silo. I want to cover the silo. We're not going to we don't have time to cover the entire silo, but we're going to cover the building blocks of this silo and give you some tools that you can start applying right away to get rid of those safety lessons, recode traumas, clear your future, program your future, clear your past. We got to start with the basics, the building blocks. And so Hold on, because it's going to be fun. By the way, the secret to this is to be as playful as humanly possible when you do this. You don't need to, in fact, how many of you, just by a show of hands, would like to be 30% better at everything? 30, if you think that'd be cool to be 30% better at everything, go ahead and type that in the chat. Me, right? Right? Here's what the science says. And these stats, by the way, they come from a very easygoing, low stakes field known as hostage negotiation. And I think I think as far as hostile environments go, the only thing more hostile than hostage negotiation is the LA pickup bar. But this is what the stats from hostage negotiation tell us, that when the negotiator themselves is easygoing, playful, adaptable, they're 30% better at everything. They're 30% more intelligent, 30% more adaptable, 30% more creative. And their counterpart, the hostage taker, the crook, the criminal, the bad guy, is actually up to 30% more compliant, more likely to capitulate to what the person wants. So when we start to talk about being playful, we need to think of playfulness as a resource and a go-to state rather than something to, what's the word for, aspire to, right? So again, I want you to have as much, the more fun and pleasure you have with the material in this webinar, the more powerfully it will change for you. Now that doesn't make a lot of sense just yet if this is a first time for you, but it will as we go forward. Okay, so let me cover this really quick. So we clear general negativity, then we attack anything that has a safety lesson attached to it. Then we install default driver states. Now there are 4 basic states that I think every human being needs to have on tap to be super successful. Those states are playful, curious, victorious, and relentless. And of those 3, the 2 most important that I think any human being needs to have is relentlessness and playfulness. Okay, if you have those, you can pretty much overcome anything. Okay, so we'll talk about driver states as we go throughout the webinar. We're not going to have time to install them today, but for those of you who take the offer, there'll be lots of opportunities for you to learn those things. The next thing we talk about is how to change that voice inside your head. We call this internal dialogue. If you're wondering what I mean when I say internal dialogue, it's that voice inside your head that just said, what voice? And this is something that starts as a voice outside of our heads. And as we move through the ages of 0 to 5, that external voice gets installed directly. Our body, our neurology takes over playing that voice for us. We create an avatar, for lack of a better word, of the source of those voices. And it creates a running commentary throughout the rest of our lives, telling us what we deserve, what we don't deserve, what we're capable of, what we're not capable of. And so as part of the identity by design process, one of the things we do is we change this so that it becomes a voice that builds you up and inspires you and motivates you and tells you how awesome and good enough you are, instead of the one that's constantly tearing you down. Okay? Then what we do is we take all of this and then we systematically sanitize all the negativity from your past, so that when you look back on the past, which is what your neurology is primed to do anyway, it only sees a past that builds you up and inspires you to move forward, instead of the stuff that bad shit that happened. So we completely sanitize this. Then we take this entire sequence and we install it as a template at the genetic memory level, at the DNA level. There's a lot of talk nowadays about genetic memory. And so we have an actual process by which we can install this whole process as a basic resource before your very first memory. So everything that happens subsequent to this program is filtered through these resources. Then we teach you how to systematically install the traits, qualities, and characteristics of people whose skill sets you admire, so you can take the things you want to be good at and get even better. It's called deep trance identification. If you've ever seen my video on YouTube called Captain Jack the Hypnotist, you'll see a demonstration of what we call the magic circle, which is a deep trance identification process. And you'll actually see me go into an avatar that I created many, many years ago, walking another person through this process. So it's a fun video to watch. And there's a lot of cool things that you can build on this. Okay, so we call this entire process the identity by design silo, the identity by design process. Now, obviously, we don't have time to go through every single step and every single sequence. So we're going to probably stay in and around this area here. We're going to take you as far as we can into the fundamentals and the foundations of the system that we're working with. And then we're going to show you how to take the next level and where to go next. Does that sound cool? Go ahead and type it in the chat if that's a cool thing for you. Excellent. Hold on a second. I've got to move things around here. He's all right. Okay. So are we clear about the identity by design process? Cool. Excellent. All right. So let's move on. All right. So guys, remember earlier I told you that I wanted you to write down what you wanted to get from this webinar. And the reason is because human beings are not driven by logic. They're not driven by facts. In fact, in studies, I'm going to jump back to face-to-face. In actual scientific studies with people who have undergone traumatic brain injuries that have severed the emotional centers in their brain from their logic centers, what scientists discovered is that when a person is unable to access their emotions, they actually become incapable of making decisions. They lose their ability to make decisions. So there's a neurological fact that human beings are not rational, logically driven creatures. We have feelings and emotions, and then we massage and manipulate our perception of reality based on those emotional feelings. So everything human beings do is about feelings. It's either a feeling they want more of or a feeling they want a whole lot less of. Does that make sense? We got to start there. We're going to keep circling back to feelings throughout this entire training over and over and over again, because if you can't manipulate and control your feelings, you're not going to be able to access the other stuff. Does that make sense? Cool. Now, we're not going to stop with feelings, but the first thing we want to do is we want to have fun. We want to be playful. Even the most traumatic stuff you could think about dealing with, if you approach it from a playful, easygoing, let's just see what happens kind of an energy, you're going to be more successful. And I do this with, and clinically, I deal with everything from war trauma to rape trauma to incest to cults, the whole gamut of traumatic installations. And over again, what we see is that this ability to be easygoing, playful, roll with the punches, gives you more ability to create powerful, lasting, positive changes. So I want you to start to understand that right off the bat, that it's all about feelings. Now, there's two ways that you can control your feelings. You can control it through your willpower, and you can control it through your body. The fastest, most reliable way to take control of your cognitive abilities is through your body. Okay, so we're going to teach you how to do that very, very shortly. We're going to start to begin the building blocks of that. But the first thing we want to talk about is the two biggest ingredients to success and the emotional motivation checklist. So let's go ahead and jump into the two ingredients to success. We're going to circle back to the emotional motivation checklist, and then we're going to show you how this all comes together. Does that sound like a plan? Okay. For this exercise, you're going to need that list of things you wanted to get from this webinar. So first of all, understand that human beings don't make decisions based on emotion. They make them based on feelings, whether they realize it or not. Let me show you the PowerPoint really, really quickly. Hold on a second. Every human being has a checklist. Oops. Every human being has a checklist that determines what must be satisfied in order for them to feel good. Now, when we talk about, we'll get into the foundations of this much deeper in just a moment, but everything human beings do is in response to a feeling, and there are certain external parameters that have to be satisfied before the body will generate a feeling, before they'll feel good about moving towards or forward with a transaction or relationship. And so since you want to get started, since you want to be successful, since you want to generate more health, wealth, success, happiness, in whatever way you define it, it's important to learn how to take action and get motivated. So we need to get our emotions in gear. We need to get our mind and our body right. And for those of you who are interested in winning job interviews, the fastest way to get other people to want to do what you want them to do is to bond yourself, product, or service to their emotional desires. Now, we're not going to do that we're not going to use this process in that context, that we have other webinars where we teach it this way. What we're going to do now is we are going to access your emotional drivers, your emotional motivation, and we're going to have you link that powerfully now to everything that we're teaching and telling you to do in this webinar so that you have the energy to move forward. After you learn this, motivation will probably never be a problem for you again. Okay. Many times when we start off with a New Year's resolution or this great goal that we set for ourselves, we start off with this emotional fire. And then at some point during that process of moving towards it, we lose our motivation. One of the reasons for that is that you stop at some point. If your point A is here, point Z is here, which is the achievement of your goal. At some point during this process, you start off focusing on the goal and the reward, what it's going to do for you, right? And you're inspired by that because you're seeing yourself having those things and feeling the feelings for getting everything you want. But what's happens many times when we suddenly get derailed is we flip. We stop focusing on the goal and start focusing on the tasks we need to accomplish to achieve the goal. And it's when we shift our focus from the end result, the benefit, the good feelings, to the individual tasks that we need to perform to get there. That's where our motivation starts to flag. And that's where we start deep digging down into our willpower to try and get there. But it doesn't work a lot of times because the moment we shift from an internal motivation to an external motivation, which is what happens when you shift from the benefit, focusing on the benefits of having it, to the task necessary to get it, you shift from internal motivation to external motivation, and it starts to become like a punishment that's being inflicted on you from the outside. That's how your neurology treats it. And so you start to push back, you start to get resentful because of the things that are from your neurology's perspective being imposed on you, and you push back and you lose your motivation, right? I have a whole video on YouTube about overcoming resistance. It's a very long video actually on what I'm talking about. We don't have time to go deep dish into it, but I want you to understand where this is coming from so that you can keep motivated and get what you want, right? So let's go back to this. So for this exercise, you're going to need a pencil or paper, or pen or pencil and a paper. Okay. Super Trader Mickey says, I need the shoddy task to feel good and I need to make it competitive. I like competition. We can show you how to do that, Super Trader Mickey. We can, in fact, if you pay attention to everything we're going to teach you in this webinar, you'll actually have the process to do that. I think it's, Victoria, what's the name of the video? I think it's called Overcoming Resistance. Just type in resistance and reactance in our YouTube channel and it should come up. Okay, so let's go back to this information right over here. So part and parcel of this emotional bonding exercise is what we call the 2 most important ingredients to success. So again, we're going to talk about the 2 most important factors for success, the 3 ingredients of achievement, rules of the mind, body-centered energy psychology, reprogramming your subconscious body and mind, programming your future, clearing your past, and taking control. Let's start with the 2 most important factors for success. First and foremost, if you are going to begin to become successful, there's 2 factors that you have to have your ducks in a row for. The first one is your sense of identity. In other words, who are you? What kind of a self-concept do you have? And that's based on your life experience. What do you feel you deserve? Have you ever seen a movie called The Secret? A man by the name of Dr. John Assaraf says, you can't out-earn or outperform your level of self-esteem. And that is actually quite true. If you've ever known anybody who had this incredibly lucky streak and got, maybe they're used to making $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 a year, all of a sudden they win the lottery and they're millionaires now. And 3 years later, they're back to $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 a year. This is what you're running into. But your beliefs have a hierarchy to them. Now, whether the beliefs are spiritual in purpose, identity, values, capabilities, behavior, and environment, doesn't matter. They're all made of the same stuff, so they can be changed and modified the same way. But you have 2 kinds of beliefs, even within this pyramid that we're going to talk about in a moment. You have 2 kinds of beliefs. You have beliefs you know about and beliefs you don't know about. So let's talk about beliefs and why they're important in terms of how we're going to work with them. The common belief that people have is that beliefs are these big, unchangeable, iceberg-sized things that run your life. Now, and if you approach them the way most people are taught to handle beliefs, that's true enough to be true. The functional truth is, though, is that beliefs are decisions that our unconscious mind made about the way the world is based on the information that we had at the time, the emotions we were feeling, and the perspective or the context that was going on. These are the things that form the beliefs that we derive, okay? Now, whether the beliefs are, again, this is what NLP calls the hierarchy of beliefs right here. Let me go ahead and circle this. Now, what you need to know about this hierarchy of beliefs is that the beliefs at the top influence the beliefs at the bottom, okay? And where we're going to start to interact today in this webinar are the beliefs that are installed here. The identity and beliefs and values levels, right? In other webinars where I've talked about the Universal Persuasion Protocol, where I've talked about the interview crusher, we've talked about 3 magic questions. I've often said to people that, especially when we're talking about 3 magic questions protocol, in Western terms, you are what you do. So if you walk up to somebody and you ask them, so what do you do for a living? They say, well, I'm an accountant, or I'm a therapist, or I'm a physician, right? Anytime you hear the word I'm or I am, what you're seeing or what you're hearing is what we call an identity statement. What they're telling you is that they have taken what they do, in other words, the job functions they perform, and turned it into something they are rather than something they do, right? And so what's happening, what NLP would say is you've created a confusion of logical levels. Now, why is this important? Because when you accept something about yourself at the belief level, your neurology fights to keep it. Okay, it's like if you were suddenly diagnosed with an illness, like maybe there's a tumor or something gangrenous in your arm, and the only way to save your life would be to cut off the arm. Well, regardless of how much logic that doctor tells you about how it's more important to save your life than save the arm, there's a huge part of you that's going to fight to keep that arm. True or not true? Would you agree with that statement? True or not true? Go ahead and type it in the chat, right? So when you start hearing statements like I am or I'm, what you're hearing is a belief that's held right at the apex of that pyramid. And so one of the first things that we have to do if we want to create change, if we want to create empowerment in ourselves and other people, is we have to change it from something they are to something they do. And that's where this hierarchy, oops, oh, I was actually fortunate. That's where this hierarchy that I'm showing you here comes in. Here's your first exercise. First exercise. I want you to go ahead and say this to yourself. I do things that make me a winner. Just say that to yourself. I do things that make me a winner. And notice how you feel. Okay? Once you've got that, I want you to use a different statement. I want you to say, I'm a winner. And notice what happens to your feelings and your perspective. What happens when you say, I'm a winner to yourself? You feel like a liar? We'll fix that one, right? Because believe it or not, whether you think you're a loser or not, you've actually won more times in your life than you haven't. Stronger the second time, very good. My body feels better when I'm a winner, right? Okay. By the way, if when you said I'm a winner, you had mostly good feelings and in the background you felt a little ickiness, that's one of those beliefs you didn't know you had. Okay, we're going to talk about those and how to find those. I'm a winner feels great. Did you notice the difference in the perspective when you change the languaging? Yes, inside your body versus disconnected. Exactly. Just a simple change in how we talk to ourselves creates that. Think about that for a moment. All we did was change a couple of words, right? And your belief system and your perspective changed. So when people feel stuck, many times they'll put themselves in an identity state. They'll say, I'm a self-sabotager, or I'm a loser, right? Well, they're not a loser. They're doing things that don't lead to their outcome. That's different. Notice what happens when you say, I'm a loser, which a lot of you may agree with, a lot of you may not. A lot of you say, I'm a loser. Now say to yourself, I sometimes do things that cause me to lose what I want. And notice what happens to the feelings in your body and your perspective. And type in the chat what you discover. Type in the chat what you noticed. I feel removed. It feels natural. Okay. From the last one. Okay. Feels more true than I am. Okay. Okay. But once again, did you notice the shift, how you become more embodied with one than the other? Yes or yes? Right? So here's one of the big things that I want you to start paying attention to from this moment out. Anytime you talk about yourself, pay attention to what level of the belief hierarchy you're operating from. Every time you say I'm or I have, you're hearing belief levels or identity level stuff. Most people fail to succeed because they confuse something they do with something they are. And all you have to do to take back the power, to gain control over it, is clear up the confusion. All right. Now, independent of neurolinguistic programming, a lot of you may have heard of a country called the Soviet Union. Back in the 70s, they swept the Olympics. And they had a mental training system that they put all of their athletes through. And one of the concepts in that system was that anything that you identify with controls you. Anything that you disidentify from, you gain power over. Does that make sense? It doesn't make sense, but that's how it works, right? So when you went from an I am statement to an I do statement, you literally disidentified yourself from that thing, which gave you power over it, which makes perfect sense if you look at this hierarchy from NLP. Hold on a second. So this again is that whole disidentification process. Now, here's what's cool about this. You don't need to know this entire hierarchy of beliefs from top to bottom to create change, because whether it doesn't matter whether it's the belief at the spiritual level, the identity level, the values level, the capabilities level, the behavior level, or the environmental level, they are all built the same way. They're all built out of the same stuff. So let's look at this really, really briefly, just so we understand it. Okay. Everything that we're going to talk about is built from what we call the primary encoding system. The primary encoding system has 3 channels of communication in it: visual, auditory, kinesthetic, olfactory, and gustatory. So literally information comes in from the outside world. It passes through the different cortexes of the brain, and it's broken up like white light through a prism into visual, auditory, kinesthetic, olfactory, and gustatory data. That information is put together to create a movie of the world, right? And we relate to the world from that movie. We don't actually relate to the world from reality. We relate to from the movie we create inside our mind, which is kind of why, something happened to us, a shitty thing happened to us once when we were 6, and 20 years, 30 years, 40 years later, we're still mad about it, right? It's because we're actually relating to the recording that we made of that event rather than the event itself. So every single one of these VAK structures is built from visual, auditory, kinesthetic, olfactory, and gustatory data. Okay, we call this the primary encoding system. Okay, so for those of you, when you said I'm a winner, you had a good feeling, but there was a little bit of a crappy feeling in the background. You've just encountered beliefs you know about conflicting with beliefs you don't know you had. Okay, in my course, Hidden Laws of Attraction, I actually show you how to nuke those beliefs and track them down. There's actually a self-questioning process we call STEMS, which allows you to isolate and eliminate those negative beliefs. Okay. So let's talk about, and we're gonna actually circle back around after the offer part of our webinar, and show you exactly how to manipulate this system to change your beliefs, change your remove traumas, get rid of emotional events, program your future, all that good stuff. But first and foremost, let's start to take everything that we're doing in this webinar and link it to our emotional motivation strategies. Now, the final ingredient that you need to be successful is action. You need to take action, regardless of what you're seeking to achieve. No matter how much mental programming and manifestation work that you do, you must balance everything that you do. You must balance everything you do inside with actions on the outside. Now, action there's a little bit more to just taking action than most people think. People primarily don't take action for one of two reasons: A, mindset, or skill set. Okay, I make a joke in my hypnosis classes. People don't go into trance for one of two reasons: they don't want to, or they don't want to, which is a little bit different. We're actually going to show you a very powerful, fun way to go into an altered state very, very quickly. But these are the reasons people don't take action: mindset and skill set. Now, here's how you begin to identify what's holding you back. If you know exactly what steps to take, you know exactly when to take those steps, and for some mysterious, unfathomable reason, you can't bring yourself to do it, maybe you feel a lack of deservingness or other limiting beliefs, maybe it's fear of success or failure, you become someone, you might become someone you don't like, very common, people don't realize that, especially where wealth is involved with. You're operating from a mindset issue, right? If, however, you're foaming at the mouth to get started, if someone would just point you in a direction and say, just do this, you would take off like a rocket. You're dealing with a skill set issue. So here's what that means. People want to take action. They're ready to take action. They have no clue where to begin. They don't know, they don't have a how or a when or a where to take action. And that means they need training. Training they don't know they need many times. And I see this a lot with fledgling therapists and people who want to start their own business. They become exceptionally good at the tools of the trade. W. Clement Stone would call that activity knowledge. We're going to circle back around to that in a minute. But they know how to do the trade. Like if you're a hypnotist, you know how to put people in trance, you know how to do regression, you know how to do NLP, you know how to do all these things, but you don't know how to get the business. You don't know how to create a web page. You don't know how to do Facebook ads. You don't know how to do presentations or talks to these are skills that you don't know you didn't need. You can be, do, or have anything you want in this world. But first, you have to become the person who can have it, who deserves to have it. And many times that requires you to invest time, energy, and other resources into things that you weren't thinking about initially. It's because you need to go through those processes so you become the person that deserves to have the results that you want, right? I see this a lot in hypnosis and hypnotherapy trainings where people who want to be hypnotists or neurolinguistic programmers or coaches, they go to training after training after training after training, but they never pull the trigger because they don't know how to go up and talk to people about their service. They don't know how to create an ad or a web page or approach people to do a public talk or things of that nature. The business-oriented skills, because they were focused on being able to be hypnotizing people. Well, again, there are skills you have and skills you don't know you need. And this is where the rubber hits the road many times, is because that's what holds you back. And it actually comes down to either ignorance or a lack of deservingness. So again, I'll show you what to do about that. Let's see here. So you may have been presented with an opportunity and things will come up in the back of your mind like it costs too much, it's going to take too long, it's too much work, right? Anytime you see these words coming up in your mind when presented with the steps to take, what you're really saying to yourself is, I don't deserve it. I don't deserve to have it because I'm not willing to do whatever it takes to get it. Okay. I know because I was the poster child for this for decades. And it wasn't until I took action on the things I didn't want to that were necessary that I became successful. And I've seen this trait in winners from all walks of life over and over and over again. Time and time again, when someone, I often say it this way: when the want to is strong enough, the how to tends to take care of itself, right? So one of the things that we want to begin to audit in our life is, and usually people are, it's not one or the other. It's the majority of one versus the other. So take an inventory of your life. Do you have the requisite skill sets necessary to take the action? If you're chomping at the bit to get started, you're ready to just, someone point me in a direction, tell me what to do, then tell me what to do after that, then tell me what to do after that. If that's where you're at, then what you've got is a skill set issue. And that's easy to fix. Just do what's necessary to get those skills once you know what they are, right? And it always starts with a question, right? If you know beyond a shadow of doubt, you have every single step mapped out, but you're not pulling the trigger, it's a mindset issue. It's a mindset issue. And it's almost always going to go back to some form of repressed emotion or a belief, an error in your belief system that was coded improperly that's holding you back. Or it's going to come to safety lessons, first and foremost. And so we're going to show you how to fix those. But you need to take an inventory of what's holding you back from moving forward, right? So let's look at the anatomy of action a little bit and the anatomy of success. Now, the information I'm going to share with you next comes from one of my mentors. I never met the man personally, but I was very lucky early in my life to study with a sales training program known as Combined Insurance Company, which was founded by a man named W. Clement Stone. Now, some of you may know who he is, but almost all of you on this webinar probably know who Napoleon Hill was. True, not true? Okay. Well, for those of you who don't know who W. Clement Stone was, he was Napoleon Hill's sponsor. W. Clement Stone took a $9 insurance policy and turned it into a $1 billion business. And he wrote several books, one of which was called The Success System That Never Fails. So when we start talking about action, there are some things there's some techniques and some methodologies that he coined. I'm going to share those with you, and I want you to integrate that into the action steps that we're taking today. So let's look at that once again. 3 ingredients to success from W. Clement Stone. He called these inspiration to action, activity knowledge, and know-how. So let's define these, okay? Inspiration to action, activity knowledge, and know-how. Inspiration to action. What's your why? What is your physical, mental, and emotional desire do you want to satisfy? What motivates you to want to do it? This is where we start to tap into our emotional checklist, right? Activity knowledge. This is a skill set thing. Do you have the fundamental and required skills and knowledge to perform the activities? More often than not, this is a theoretical understanding. You may not have any practical experience yet, but you know what to do in your mind. You're what we call stage 3 on the 4 levels of learning. You're consciously competent. When you think about it, you can apply it and you can get the results. Is that clear so far? Because we want to distinguish activity knowledge. A lot of people in the hypnosis world, a lot of people in the coaching world, they have activity knowledge. They just don't know how to apply it. They don't, or they have activity knowledge of how to do NLP or life coaching, but they don't know how to go get clients. So they need the activity knowledge for that. Then they need the last piece of the equation, which is know-how. They need to have the ability to practically apply the skills in the real world. right? This includes insights, shortcuts, and innovations derived from practical experience. These are the three ingredients that lead to achievement, that lead to success, okay? So we're going to show you, again, there are certain things I can share with you as far as the activity knowledge in terms of where you want to apply it. I can show you how to run your mind more efficiently in this webinar. I can show you how to do these things for your mind, your mindset, and your skill set. What I can't do for you on the webinar is show you how to apply it directly to the direction you want to go. If you're a carpenter and you want to be a better carpenter, I can't show you how to be a better carpenter in terms of the practical skills, but I can show you how to change your mind so that you become a better carpenter with the skills you already have. Does that make sense? Yes or no? Cool. Okay. So first and foremost, let's get it. Let's drill down on inspiration to action. Okay. So going back to, is that it? Nope. Where'd I put it now? Here it is. Okay. I had it on, I was on the right page to begin with. Your emotional motivation drill. Now, at the beginning of this webinar, I asked you to write down what it is you want to take from this webinar. What do you want to be able to do as a byproduct of the training you're on today? What do you want to be able to achieve, right? I want you to write that down. Take a minute, write it down. Okay. When you've written it down, if you haven't already, type done in the chat. Excellent. Okay, perfect. Perfect. Now, underneath that goal, underneath that outcome, I want you to write this question down. What's important to you about having it? What's it going to do for you? Okay. Perfect. Get rid of limiting beliefs. You don't have to type it in the chat. I just want you to write it on the page. Cool. Very nice. Now, once you've written down what's important to you about getting it, imagine close your eyes, take a deep breath in, let that breath out with a sigh, and imagine for a moment that you've got it, that you've applied the drills and the techniques in this webinar, you've followed all the instructions, obeyed all the commands, followed all the directions, and boom, you nailed it. You got it. Home run. See what you see, hear what you hear, smell and taste what you smell and you taste. Live it. And answer this question for me. Now that you've got it, what's important to you about having it? What's important to you about having it? Right? And write that down. I want you to write each of these things down. Timothy says peacefulness. Okay. Okay, write it down, done. Okay, full purpose. Okay, full by purpose, happiness, contentment. Excellent. Now, usually what I do is I go 2 or 3 levels deep with this. This is what we call the emotional bonding checklist. When you ask somebody, what do you want? Or what's important about that? People answer this, that, and the other thing. Then you drill down, what's important to you about that? And then if you had it, what would that do for you? And what's important about having that? I want you to do that process 3 times. Take whatever answer you had for C and just keep drilling down until you get to like a word like winningness or happiness, and that's perfect. Okay? Less stress, success. Excellent. Now, once you've gotten 2 or 3 levels of that, just type done in the chat. Perfect. Now, here's the drill. I want you to stand up and I want you to speak your answers. First of all, stand up, take an inventory of your body feelings. Notice how you feel right now. And as you connect everything you've written down to what we're doing in this webinar, what we're telling you to do in this webinar, I want you to speak them out loud. Speak your answers out loud and notice what happens to the feelings in your body. Notice what happens to the feelings in your body. Tell me what you discover. I keep looking at all the chats over here. Christopher Chambers says, if I had that, I'd be able to influence others more freely. Perfect. Finn Goddess says, hi, David. Okay. Serenity and peace. Giggly, empowered to help others, feels good. Now, I didn't do this at the last webinar, but just to show you how powerful this is, all I want you to do, if you have a mirror, look in the mirror. If not, just imagine you're standing at yourself and seeing the world through those eyes. And I just want you to 5 or 6 repetitions, just repeat those words out loud over to yourself over and over again and notice what happens. And then type in the chat what happened with each repetition. Take a minute, it's okay. Shoulders relax, Kate Sutherland says, excellent. K51, teaching children peace and connection, very good. A lot of you, peace is coming up for a lot of you. I felt a weight come off, Judith says. Bliss, just crying, perfect. This is the secret of your power. This is the power this is the secret to having power over your life, over yourself, and ultimately, if you continue with us and you learn the other applications of this, this is the secret to having power and influence with everybody you meet. Every human being on the planet has the same kind of feelings you have when they hear their words coming back to them from this process. Do you understand the power of this? Yes or yes? Okay. Are you more motivated now than you were a few minutes ago? Yes or no? Exactly. Now, how easy is it to take action? As we continue to move forward, I want you to continue to link those feelings to everything I'm teaching you so you become inspired to go the next step, right? And every time you feel it wane, just repeat it to yourself like a mantra and notice what happens. These are what we call neurologically active languaging, right? If we were talking about conversational notes, we would say they're personal trance words, right? This is your why. This is your reason for doing the things you do, for taking the steps and going where you need to go, right? Does that make sense? Okay, perfect. Now, let's go back and look at some rules of the mind. Now, we're going to go through these relatively quickly because we're going to do a full treatment of it after we do our offer. So I got about 10 minutes before I have to do the offer, and then we'll jump back. Is that okay? If we start with altered state work, we learn how to feel good for no friggin' reason, and then we do our offer, and then we come back and continue to teach. Is that okay? Okay. So one of the first things that we need to understand is that everything human beings do requires altering your state of consciousness. Now, most people, when they start talking about hypnosis and NLP and trance this and meditation that, they think they know what I'm talking about. And largely that belief that they know what I'm talking about gets in their way. So first and foremost, I'm going to ask you a couple of questions. I want you to just type in the chat if it's true for you or not. If you want to raise your hand, usually when I'm doing this in live audience, I have people raise their hands. You can raise your hand before you type in the chat what's true or not. So how many of you have ever, let's talk about 3 words: playfulness, absorption, and focus. Okay. How many of you here, we talk about absorption and focus, first of all, how many of you here have ever been little children? Let's go ahead and type that in the chat. If you people are raising their hand in the Zoom chat because they have that function, right? Excellent. How many of you, when you're a little child, played pretend? Type that in the chat if you played pretend as a kid. Now, when you play pretend, I don't care if you were a tomboy doing boy things. I don't care if you were a tom girl doing girl things. I don't care if you played teacups with your stuffed animals, you played school teacher, soldier, superhero. But type in the chat what your favorite thing to play pretend at was in the chat so I can see. So I know which metaphor to use for you. Teacher, superheroes, army, Spider-Man. Excellent. Excellent. Cool. Now, I'm betting when you were 4, 5, 6, 7 years old and you played pretend, that when you, and again, Matt, you can close your eyes if you want, or you can just watch me as I speak to you. Whether you're, I'll use a soldier metaphor or a superhero metaphor, right? Maybe you're 7 years old and you're out in the backyard and you're going to play pretend. And so you're going to play soldier. So you pick up a stick, or maybe you have a toy gun, right? And again, feel free to fill in your favorite experience for this. It's going to work the same way, right? And you pick up a stick, right? And there's a part of you, even as a 5 or 7 year old, that knows it's just a stick for about the first 5 minutes. About 6.5 minutes later, it's no longer a stick. It's a real gun. You're really Rambo or a superhero, Wonder Woman, doing your golden lasso. You're chucking and you're jiving and you're killing the bad guys and you're doing all these cool things. True, not true. Lightsaber, right? Excellent. Cap guns, yes, right? You forgot. Did you see all the bad guys you were shooting and beating up in your head? Did you interact with them? Like, could you hear them talk to you? Right? If you could hear voices in your head, we have meds for you. It's okay. Never mind. But my point was, my stick was my rifle and I was an Indian. Absolutely, right? Exactly. Here's the question I have for you. Were you asleep when you were doing those amazing things? Or were you awake? Were you completely absorbed in what you were doing? Were you having a ball? Yes or yes? Right? Ladies and gentlemen, if you can do that, just like when you were a little kid playing pretend, literally, you can make any change that you want. Any change. That's what we mean by playful and absorption. Play pretend. Because when you play pretend, you activate all the same mechanisms at the unconscious level that creates every belief system that you have, that creates every memory that you have, that has encoded every positive or negative experience you've ever had. And you gain the ability to access and change everything. Would that be useful? Okay, so here's what we're going to do. I'm going to teach you a very powerful, hormonally active way to begin to go into a powerful altered state that allows you to rewrite new programming. We're going to do once we've done that, we've had that experience, we know how to do it. We're going to do our offer. I'm going to show you what we've got coming up for you, what we got planned, the events and so forth that we've got lined out for the rest of the year. And then when that's done, I'm going to circle back and I'm going to show you step by step by step how to leverage that trance to rewrite beliefs, remove and dissolve traumas and bad feelings and bad memories from your life. I'm going to show you how to program your future using the system, the primary encoding system. And we're going to put it together in a nice little package so you come away from this webinar with a handful of solid techniques and a system that you can use. Does that sound like a plan? Is this the same as speed healing? There are elements of it from speed healing in here. Speed healing is actually a derivative of what we're doing. It's actually a very small part, actually, but there is some of it, yeah. What if, I love the plan, going through that now. Okay, so close your eyes. Again, if you're driving, don't do this. Wait till you're home safe before you do this, right? Close your eyes. And here's what I'd like you to do right now. I'd like you to fly back on the wings of time to a time in your life when you felt the most amazing, thrilling, fulfilling, satisfying pleasure imaginable. I want you to see what you saw, hear what you heard, smell and taste what you smell and you taste, because when you feel that pleasure, I want you to notice something, that there's a place in your body where those feelings start, where they grow and where they spread from. Take a moment, point to where you feel it. Then what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to imagine, I want you to use your imagination for me. And if there were a picture floating in the space around you that represents that amazing feeling, a picture that you could reach out and touch. So you point to where you feel it, reach out and touch the picture. Where would you reach out to find that picture? Once you find that picture, go with your first impression. Go ahead and trace the outline of that picture with both of your hands so you know how big it is. Then I want you to reach out, grab that picture with both your hands. Just to make sure we've got the right one, make the picture bigger. Notice what happens to the feelings in your body. When you've got that, leave the picture that size. Type in the chat what happened to the feelings in your body. Goosebumps. Excellent. Wow, right? Chills got stronger. Excellent. Now, reach up. Now, we're going to keep our hands on the picture for the rest of the exercise. Your picture is a shape. That's perfect. Bring it back to its original size. Keep it at the original size. Now slowly pull it closer to your body so you know, and notice what happens to the feeling as you do that. Once you've got that, take the picture now, lift it up over your head, pull it down around you like a big blanket. Notice what happens. Do the feelings get stronger or weaker? You're doing great, by the way. Whatever you got, you're doing great. Now, you can have this feeling back at whatever level you want in just a moment. But for the sake of our drill, what I'm going to ask you to do is I'm going to ask you to unwrap that picture, hold it back up over your head, right? I'm going to kneel down here so I actually show in the camera. Hold it up over your head. Now, most of you know what a Frisbee is. I want you to imagine that this picture that you're holding is shaped like a Frisbee. I want you to take that picture and throw it all the way behind you, whoosh, till it disappears beyond the horizon. The moment it disappears and is gone completely beyond the horizon, scan your body. Notice what happened to the feelings. Did they get stronger? Did they get weaker? Did they disappear completely? No, come back, pleasure. That's all right. You can have this back in just a moment. Empty. Now, lift your hands up. Imagine, pretend that your hands are the world's most powerful Frisbee magnets. And I want you to suck that Frisbee right back into your hands. Okay? As you hold it there, listen closely, follow all my instructions. I want you to, I'm going to tell you the most important and powerful thing of the many that you're going to hear in this webinar. Inside your mind, body, and soul, you are the god or goddess of your neurology. You are the king or queen of your universe. And you have absolutely every right, privilege, and authority to make any change that you want for any reason that you want. And I want you to have an experience of that right now. What I want you to do is I want you to take that picture that you're holding and I want you to play with it. I want you to make it bigger, make it smaller, move it up, move it down, move it in your body, move it outside of your body, move it around. Notice how every time you change some aspect of that picture that you're holding, the feelings and the quality of those feelings change too. And I want you to keep playing with it until you find the exact size, shape, and location that gives you the exact feeling that you want to have in the exact level that you want to have it. And when you find that sweet spot, you find that special area, I want you to fix it into place. I want you to feel those energies flow from the picture to your body, from your body to your heart, from your heart to your bloodstream. And every place that your blood flows, those feelings go into every nerve, every cell, every atom, into the very DNA of those cells. Notice that they just keep getting stronger and stronger and stronger. Now, I'd like you to notice where in your body those feelings are the strongest. Point to where that is. And if there were a color connected to those wonderful feelings, I'm curious what color or colors that might be for you, first impression. Whatever that color is, That's fine. You can type it in the chat if you want, but right now, all I want you to do is imagine a magnificent ball of that color, that pleasure color, floating above your head. Notice how the feelings in your body shift and changes with every breath you take, and every beat of your heart. That ball of pleasure begins to grow, begins to expand, begins to fill the entire room from floor to ceiling, from wall to wall, and all points in between. Notice how it wraps itself around you like an amazing blanket of pleasure, a cocoon, a shield, a suit of armor, insulating and protecting you from all negativity, all less than pleasurable experiences, real or imagined, while at the same time flooding your mind, flooding your body, flooding your spirit with everything it most wants, everything it most needs in an infinite, ever-expanding and unlimited supply. And when you know you've got that, breathe those amazing colors through your entire being. Let it fill you up like water fills up a bottle, like fluid fills up a test tube, like hot air or helium fills up a balloon. Anchor it in so fully, so completely, no force in the universe can turn it off or take it away, not even you. And when you know you've got that, test it. Try to turn it off. Try to make it go away. Notice what happens instead. When you're satisfied, go ahead and type it in the chat. Okay, Dylan, if that's the challenge you're having, imagine something that was fun for you and start there. Some people take a little bit longer. Can't let go. Okay. You mean you're stuck feeling good now? Well, that's a suck deal, isn't it? Is that a good place to start? Okay, excellent. You guys are doing fantastic. I'm really, really happy with how well you're doing with this. Now, here's how the rest of the night is going to go. I'm going to show. I actually taught you 2 ways to induce a rapid trance inside of yourself in that exercise. When we come back from the offer, we're going to break it down so you understand it. You're going to practice it so you can do it on demand. But one of the things that the pleasure-based inductions do, Judith, would this work for depression? Yes. As long as your physiology is right, it'll work. It'll work for pretty much anything. We're going to show you how to leverage this. This is a very powerful driver this is what I call one of the engines of change. So as you get deeper into this, you're going to figure out that's what winning feels like. Yes. Excellent. So we're going to go back. We're going to show you what I've got planned for you. If that's okay for you. For those of you who know you want to take it further and go get it all, right? I'll show you what we've got for you. When we come back, I'm going to show you what we did. I'm going to explain what we did so you can do it on demand. And then we're going to keep adding layers to this and build it up so you can change your beliefs. You can take from action to inaction to action and do all kinds of cool things. Would that be useful? Okay. So here we go. With your permission, always with your permission, guys. I like to go ahead and, again, there's my permission slip. So let me talk to you about something we put together for you. This is called the Secrets of Personality Transformation Ultra Mind Control Training for Success Home Study Course. This is something that one of the things that I've always tell my students is that if you have a choice between doing a video or coming to a live event, come to the live event. But I realize with the COVID and all the economic issues going on is that sometimes getting to a live event isn't feasible. It doesn't work for everybody. And so I had to sit down and really kind of put my head together and figure out, how can I design a program? How can I design a package that would give you all the skills that you need, the inspiration to action, the activity knowledge, the know-how to program yourself for unlimited success, health, wealth, and happiness. And this is what I've put together for you. I think this is a combination of some of those powerful trainings we've ever done in a very synergistic way that's going to help you get the life you want the way that you want it. So with your permission, let's talk about what we've got here. This is a program that's going to help you make more money, close more deals, get more dates, feel more confident, remove blocks to your success, win the game of life, become more charming, charismatic, and irresistible. And here's what we put together. By the way, this offer expires October 15th, 2020 at 11:59 p.m. Yeah, Chris, if you're in a country where the borders are still closed, stay tuned because we actually have a special program for people who are actually dealing with border issues. So we've got something that we put together specifically for you guys. So this is the Secrets of Personality Transformation. It's a 14-video course that includes the entire 7-stage identity by design process and mind control training. It's going to teach you how to clear unconsciously held negative emotions and beliefs, stuff you didn't even know you had. It's a $297 value. You're going to learn to remove unconscious safety rules that we talked about, the ones that are keeping you stuck. You have a step-by-step process exactly for that. $297 value. You're going to learn how to remove the negative voices in your head that hold you back so that they move you forward and inspire you and motivate you instead of tearing you down and making you feel like you don't deserve the things you want. It's a $297 value. We're going to teach you how to install the 4 pillars of personal power and success into your mind and body so you can access these states on demand, and they actually function as a default way of moving through the world. You'll move through the world automatically feeling this way to some degree, and you can modulate that at any time you want. It's a $297 value. We're going to show you systematically how to sanitize the negativity from your past, remove trauma so that when you look back on the past, you only remember it in ways that empower you, only in ways that inspire you and make your life better. It's a $297 value. We're going to include that as part of this program. We're going to teach you how to install your personal success template. This is where you can literally take everything that we've shown you and install it as a template so that the baby you, the one that we're going to be dealing with as we start to clear our past, has all of these resources already on tap so that when she relives those memories that we're going to start to play with, they have all of these new resources they didn't have at that moment, and they go through it completely differently, and they become empowered and motivated and unstoppable. And then finally, we're going to show you step by step how to borrow or install the genius skills, attributes, and abilities of others that you admire into your own personal blueprint for success. Once again, we're going to teach you how to rewrite the template that creates your sense of self, your identity, what you deserve, what you're capable of. And we're going to do it on multiple levels of the nervous system simultaneously. $297 value. We're also going to include our updated and upgraded Real World Hypnosis Identity by Design course manual. It's a $418 value. If you've seen the updated version, you already know it's friggin' huge. Okay, it's a massive piece of work. We're constantly enhancing and adding that. If we update the manual, you'll automatically get permission to download the updated version. Okay. Plus, we're going to give you access to a special online community, which we'll talk about. It has over 210 active members. It actually has more than that right now. That number is dated, and that's absolutely priceless. So if you were to look at everything we've got here, you're looking at a total value of $2,497. But as you can probably imagine, we're not going to stop there, right? There's more. Grab your course today. We're also going to include the following special bonuses for you. We're going to include the special Identity by Design Hypnotherapy Home Study course. Now, this is a full hypnotherapy curriculum. This has the entire Identity by Design style in it, plus a bunch of extra techniques that are not included in the Personal Power course. It'll teach you how to unlock the power of your subconscious mind to hypnotize anyone, anytime, anywhere. You'll learn conversational hypnosis. You'll learn instant and rapid inductions. You'll learn how to do this as part of your coaching practice instead of a personal alchemy process. You'll learn how to find and remove hidden negativity, clear up issues that just don't seem to go away, change those crappy voices inside your head so they build you up instead of tearing you down. You'll learn how to resolve negativity from your past, install the traits, qualities, characteristics that you want, and a whole bunch more. It's a $1,497 value. We're going to give this to you absolutely free when you grab your copy of today's program. Okay, total value so far is $2,994, but we're not going to stop there. We're also going to include, you've heard me mention this earlier in the podcast or in the webinar, our vibrational influence, hidden laws of attraction, mind, magic, and manifestation made easy program. It's a $1,497 value. This is brand new. We just created it this year based on some earlier trainings and other information that we've had. And it will show you systematically how to unlock the power of your subconscious mind to, once again, find and remove blocks to health, wealth, and happiness that you didn't know you had, become a money magnet, to become a naturally lucky person. One of the things that we talk about in this training is the qualities, characteristics, and attributes of people who are naturally lucky, how you can install them and amplify them in yourself. We'll teach you how to influence people remotely, both for personal development, as well as the ability to heal others remotely, how to find and remove hidden negativity, clear up issues that just don't seem to go away, powerful new information methods for programming your subconscious mind. If you liked the exercise where I had you speak your your trance words out loud, you'll love the information method, because this takes what you just got to a whole nother level. We'll show you how to attract the things you want and change what you deserve so you get the things that you know you want. We'll show you how to remove all the negativity from your past, and finally to install the traits, qualities, and characteristics of those naturally lucky people so you can own it for yourself. You'll discover the two most powerful engines of personal transformation and manifestation ever. And much, much more. If you're curious about image cycling, if you want to learn how to do image cycling a la David, there is a complete module at the end of this training that teaches people. You'll still literally see people changing the taste of water as they do their image cycling. Okay. Total value so far, we're going to give this to you absolutely free, by the way. It's a $1,497 value. We're going to give it to you free. Total value so far for this package, if you were to go to the website and buy it today, will be $5,491. But once again, there's more. One of the things that we talked about earlier in the webinar was we said there's two elements to action. One is mindset. The other is skill set. Now, the courses we've talked about up to this point have focused on developing the person you want to be, have developed you on your mindset and giving you the skills that you need and to go forward. But sometimes one of the most important skills that people are lacking, and they don't realize they're lacking until it's too late, is the ability to influence and persuade other people. So what we've done is we've taken a couple of courses from our influence and persuasion training funnels, and we've integrated it into this package so that you have both the mindset and the skill sets covered. And this is our real world conversational hypnosis stealth CPI universal persuasion protocol level 1. Okay. And in this course, it's a $1,950 value. We're going to give it to you absolutely free. This is going to teach you everything you need to know to persuade people. And remember that the exercise that we did where we just talked about what do you want and what's it going to do for you and what's that going to do for you? We're going to show you how to take that feeling that you've learned in yourself, install it in other people, and amplify it to the point where they are hanging on your every word and begging to do what you want them to do. We're going to show you literally how to instantly hypnotize people in normal conversations without them ever knowing you're doing it and feeling great about it the entire time. You're going to learn how to emotionally bond and connect with anyone you want at will. You'll be able to do this anytime, anywhere, under any circumstances. We're going to teach you how to control your emotions and use them to effectively influence others. Literally, you'll learn how to go into a state, link to another person's neurology, and transfer those feelings to them through their proprioceptive nervous system and their mirror neurons. We're going to teach you the 7 most powerful hypnotic language patterns that exist, the ones that people can't resist even when they know you're doing it. Okay, just to give you an example, we're going to teach you using one language pattern. We're going to teach you how to make anything you want seem to cause anything you want in the minds of your subjects or your listeners. You can do this in writing. You can do this in chat. You can do this in text. We're going to teach you how to make anything you want cause anything you want. You think that might be useful to have the ability to make anything you want seem to cause anything you want in the minds of your subjects or your customers or your clients, or to make it mean whatever you decide it means? We can show you how to literally make somebody's internal thoughts and processes be exactly what you described. We're going to show you how to direct a person's external and internal focus of awareness so that they automatically focus on the things that you want them to focus on and disregard pretty much everything else. We're going to teach you how to make people like, love, and trust you on command, how to have them hanging on your every word. What if you could just say a few words to people and people were literally, in spite of their best idea, what's the word I'm looking for? In spite of their best intentions, couldn't stop listening to you? Would that be useful? If you could just force somebody to pay attention to you in a positive way, even if people were trying to distract them. You think that might be useful? We're going to show you how to do that. We call this the hidden back door to the human nervous system. Okay, I'm going to show you step by step 4 ways to gain magnetic charisma on command and much, much more. So for those of you who are having trouble, knowing how to talk to people, knowing how to get people to want to do what you want them to do, to win those job interviews, this is the course that will take everything you've learned and exponentially multiply the power of it. Okay, it's a $1,950 value. It's yours absolutely free. If you were to go to the website and buy each of these programs individually, you'd be looking at $7,441, right? But again, we're going to include all this for you free if you purchase by the end of the webinar. So we're also finally, we're going to show you, this is actually something that addresses both mindset and skill set. We call this renegade reframing and the art of conversational belief change. This is how to change people's beliefs and instantly overcome any objection in just minutes. Think about this for a moment. What if you were in a situation where you were trying to convince somebody to be a customer or what have you, and for every objection they came up with, every reason they had for not going forward, you had 14 different ways to beat it. You think that would be useful? It's a variation on the Dilts method. What if for every limiting belief that popped up in your head, you had 14 or more different ways to change that belief? Would that be useful? This is what Renegade Reframing does, okay? In this particular program, we actually include a card game. We call it the Reframe game, where people literally battle each other, kind of like Go Fish or War, where somebody states a belief, they throw down a card, and the person you're throwing the card down has to overcome the belief using the pattern. It's fun. It's a tremendous, and if you apply this to your own belief systems, you'll rapidly discover that your beliefs change spontaneously. Because through one of those 14 different patterns, something's going to hit and it's going to change how you think about your limiting beliefs, and it's going to empower you. So for that alone, it's well worth the $1,950. But you can use this in both directions. You can use this on yourself, and you can use it on everyone you want to influence. What was it like if you would never lose an argument ever again? Would that be useful? Right? Combined value, we're going to give this to you absolutely free, right? Because some of the people we argue with most is ourselves, right? So combined value, $9,391. When you register for the end of the webinar, we're going to include this as a free bonus. So let's look at kind of review what we've got for you here. You've got the 14 video Secrets of Personality Transformation program, plus the manual with the 7-stage identity by design process. That's a $2,497 value. We're going to include absolutely free. We're going to include absolutely free the Identity by Design Hypnotherapy Certification Home Study course, valued at $1,497. We're going to include the Hidden Laws of Attraction, Mind Magic, and Manifestation Mastery class, $1,497 value. We're going to give that to you absolutely free. We're going to include the Stealth CPI Level 1 Universal Persuasion Protocol, valued at $1,950. If people are asking for the link, you can go ahead and give it to them if they want it already. And finally, we're going to throw in Renegade Reframing, how to overcome any objection and change beliefs instantly. It's a $1,950 value. Judith, you have access, once you get the program, you have access to the information for life. So as long as you want it, you got it. So total value, $9,391. But you know what? Remember I said there's two ingredients to success. One is your belief system, your sense of deservingness, the desire to do whatever it takes, and the willingness to take action. And for those of you who are in that category of fast action takers, I'd like to share something with you. For today only, get the best deal humanly possible. For those of you who are ready to move forward, if you're ready to take your life to the next level and get everything you want the way that you want it, you're not going to have to pay $9,931. Not at all. We're not even going to charge you $6,347. We're not going to charge you $5,347. That would be a deal right there, right? Getting like $4,000 off. But we're not going to stop there. We're not going to charge you $5,300. We're not going to charge you $3,300. We're not going to charge you $2,400 or $2,347. Not at all. For those of you who are ready to take your life to the next level with me, because I'm going to be with you through this entire process, you can get the entire package today for a low one-time investment of just $997. And if you need a little extra help, a little extra motivation, we can break that up for you into 3 easy installments of just $397. All you need to do to get started is go to www.nlppower.com/mental-secret. There's a link in your webpage there. There's a link in your browser. And for those of you who are super fast action takers, I got something even better for you, okay? If you're one of the next 15 people, listen closely. If you're one of the next 15 people to grab this offer, first of all, everything is 100% guaranteed. If you're not satisfied, take 90 days to put this stuff to work. If you're not 100% satisfied, we'll give you all your money back and you can keep the course. Okay. But give it the full 90 days, right? And let us help you. If you have any sticking points, call us. We'll show you what to do and how to work around it. We're always there for you. Stephanie's my administrative goddess, and she will help you and get your information to me, and I'll help you as best I can. So once again, to get yours now, just go to www.nlppower.com/mental-secrets. nlppower.com/mental-secrets. Okay. And once again, now this offer does expire today, October 15th, 2020, 11:59 p.m. For the next 15 people, those of you who know you want this, I got an extra bonus for you, extra 2 actually. You're also going to get the following bonuses. Fast action bonus number 1, we're going to give you a 3-month free trial membership to our NLP Power Mastermind Mentoring Program and the 10-year video archive. This is a $594 value. It's yours completely free. Total value so far is $9,985. Let me take a moment, jump back to face, so I can explain what the NLP Power Mastermind Mentoring Program is. On the 3rd Saturday of every month, we meet online and in person. Right now, things are starting to open up from the COVID restrictions. We'll be going back to live events and simulcasting at the same time. Right now, we're exclusively online. But on the 3rd Saturday of every month, everybody joins me on a Zoom class. I literally go around the Zoom room and I say, Allegra, what do you want to learn? Catherine, what do you want to learn? Ernest, what do you want to learn? Zion, what do you want to learn? And I take what you want to learn that day. I write it on a list. I look where all of these things intersect. I create a lesson plan right on the spot. And for the next 4 hours, I drill you guys exclusively on those exact skill sets so you can do them in your sleep. It's not a certification track. This is purely a skill building opportunity, a chance for you to get virtual or in person with people who have the same interests, the same desires that you have, and do the drills and get the skills with me observing and giving you feedback, designing extra drills and techniques to help drive the learning in. You get a 3-month free trial. You also get full unfettered access to 10 years of archive video. We've been running this program since 2010. We have videotaped every single one of those meetings, and we've archived them on the NLP Power website, our personal Facebook group, and we're now starting to archive them on a private members only section in the YouTube channel. You will have complete access to the entire 10 years for as long as you're in the program. Try it out, do the drills, get the skills for 90 days, 3 months. If you like it, stay. If you don't like it, you don't lose anything, right? Most people stay because they always have something next that they want to work on. But if you come in for 3 months, get everything you need and you're done, boom, you got the skills. You've got the hands-on that you need to bring these techniques to life, okay? Okay, so I just wanted to kind of look you in the eye and explain what this is and how it works. We have lots of mastermind members in both chats, and if you have questions about it, they can answer those questions for you. Let me jump back to the PowerPoint. So we're going to give you 3 months of that. It's a total of $9,985 value. We're also going to give you another fast action bonus. This is for people who want to start hypnotizing people to crash course. There's like tons of videos on here, but we're relentlessly on the key hypnotic language patterns, anchoring, lie detection, and some other videos. And it allows you to just start hypnotizing people within 24 hours. It's a $997 value. We're going to give this to you absolutely free. Combined total value with everything we've talked about so far is $10,982. All you got to do is click the link and you get yours. Okay, so I keep saying for the next 15 people, I forgot where my slide was. This is our final fast action bonus. This is probably one of the coolest things we've ever come up with. People absolutely love it. They always sell out. This is called our VIP super ticket. And what this is, if you're one of the next 15 people to buy this webinar package today, we're going to give you free admission to any single live event of your choice. Now, some restrictions do apply. We'll tell you what those are shortly. Basically, the way this works is we're going to go over some of the events we've got coming up. And if you decide you want to go, all you got to do is call Stephanie. Send her an email, say, hey, I want to go to this training. Even if that training is full, or it's any event that is, I believe, 6 days or less. Not sure what's going on, yo. Are you guys talking to me? Close the offer window when you see the offer. Okay. Anyway, so this is good for the first 15 people who register today. This goes away when I close the webinar out. It's a $1,950 value. It's yours absolutely free. Now, some of our trainings are actually more than $1,950. And as long as you qualify, we'll show you how to use your VIP ticket to get into those trainings. Now, what's cool about the VIP ticket, and again, I want to share this with you. What's cool about the VIP ticket is it never expires. So let's say you get your VIP ticket today, but it takes you 2 years to get to a live event. All you got to do is pick up the phone, send Stephanie an email, say, hey, Stephanie, I have this VIP ticket I bought 2 years ago. Can I use it for such and such training? And she'll say, yes, here's how it works. And even if the training is full, we will find a place for you. That's how the VIP ticket works. The other thing about the VIP ticket is that let's say you call Stephanie or email Stephanie and register for a training. And at the last minute, something comes up. Maybe somebody in the family gets sick, the boss makes you work, won't give you time off. All you got to do is pick up the phone, send Stephanie an email. She will move you to a different training. You don't lose it until you use it. Let's say you're going to come to a training and you want to bring somebody and introduce them to the information that we teach. You can transfer your VIP ticket to them and then they can use it. Okay. Let's say that we're doing a training in a place where the money is different, like the UK or Cyprus, where they're on the euro and everything there. Whenever we do a training that's international, with the exception of Australia, and Canada, we do it in the local denomination. So if you go to a training in Cyprus and it's 1,950 euros, which translates to like 2,200 bucks or something like that, American, you don't pay. It doesn't matter. You get to walk in like we have a seat waiting for you because the price point doesn't matter anymore. So, and I've literally told people, hold on to this ticket because I'm coming over to your area and it's going to save you a ton of money if you use this ticket for that, right? Now, you can use it for an in-person live event or you can do a virtual live event. It works either way. You can choose. Now, certain trainings that go more than 6 days, or if they're sponsored by somebody else, in other words, if they're asking me to come in and do a training as opposed to one that I'm running and promoting and all that other stuff, there's some limiters there. You get a significantly big discount for those, and Stephanie will be happy to explain those to you. But those are really the only, that and the fact that the certain courses we offer have prerequisites to them. And so we're going to ask you to make sure you've satisfied the prereqs before you try to use your VIP ticket for an advanced class. So that's, again, trying to remember if there's anything I left out about the VIP ticket. I love the VIP ticket concept because it allows people to supplement their online learning, their home study courses with one-on-one feedback and work from me. We do more hands-on training than any other trainer in the industry. And people come in knowing nothing and they come out unstoppable. We literally have, we have it on record. Students from our Identity by Design class were literally doing change work in the lobby of a hotel that was undergoing renovations right next to a jackhammer that was actually operating, and they all did perfectly well. So when we teach you and we say you can do this anytime, anywhere, under any circumstances, for any reason, this is one of the reasons. Is because of the way that we train you in person, and we supplement those trainings with the videos. Okay? It's really, really powerful. But don't believe me. Ask the people in the chats with you who've done these trainings. Ask the people who've been in the masterminds what it's like. And they don't have a vested interest in promoting me. I have a vested interest in promoting me. So I don't expect you to believe everything I say, right? Talk to these people, right? But if you're even halfway serious, grab this offer, get that VIP ticket, and really get the tools that you need to move forward with your life. I want to help you in every way I can. So let's go ahead and go back to our offer here. Once again, combined value is $12,932. So once again, to review, Secrets of Personality Transformation, UMC, plus manual is $1,497 value. Identity by Design Hypnotherapy Home Study Course, $1,497 value. We're going to give that to you absolutely free. Hidden Laws of Attraction, Manifestation, and Mind Control Secrets, $1,497. Hidden Laws of Attraction, Stealth CPI, Universal Persuasion Protocol, $1,950. We're going to give it to you free. We're going to give you the Renegade Reframing, Overcoming Objections, and Classical Belief Change. Okay, it's a $1,950 value. We're going to give it to you free. We're going to give you 3 months of the NLP Power Mastermind Mentoring Program and access to 10 years of archived video. It's a $594 value. We're going to give it to you absolutely free. We're going to give you instant access to the Stealth Instant Conversation Hypnosis Crash Course. It's a $997 value. You're going to get it for free. Finally, VIP Super Ticket, your choice of any single live event, $1,950 value. We're going to give it to you free. Total value, $12,932. Yours today for just one low installment of $997. Or 3 easy installments of just $397. All you got to do to grab your package today is go to www.nlppower.com/mental training secrets. If you have any questions, Stephanie and Brandon are online to help you, and they will help you set up a payment plan. They will get you the information that you need. Okay. This is, again, what it's about. Okay. Let me see where we're at here. So once again, $2,497 value, 7-stage identity by design system plus manual, the online community with 210 active members. That's the NLP Power program, priceless. The bonus identity by design hypnotherapy home study course, $1,497 value. Hidden Laws of Attraction, $1,497 value. Stealth CPI level 1 universal persuasion protocol. Renegade Reframing Objection Obliteration and Speed Conversational Belief Change, $1,950 value. And again, the fast action bonuses for those of you registered now. You're going to get the Stealth Instant Conversation Hypnosis Crash Course valued at $997. You're going to get the NLP Power Mastermind Practice Group Trial, $594. And finally, you get that free VIP Super Ticket, any single live event valued at $1,950. Total value, $12,932. Today, only $997 or 3 easy installments of just $397. Go ahead and use that link. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to give those of you who want to go ahead and complete your program with Stephanie. I'm going to give you 5 minutes to 7 minutes to go ahead and do that. For those of you who are need a bathroom break, I'll give you that. Anyway, let's be nice to each other in the YouTube chat there, okay? All right, so we're going to give it give you guys 6 or 7 minutes while I run to the restroom and take a bladder break. When we come back, we're going to go ahead and continue back to the reprogramming phase. And what I may actually do with this one, what we're going to do is I may actually do a little installation or group installation, but we'll see. All right, so we'll be back. It's 6:04 now. We'll be back at 6:09. If you guys have any questions, I can also, if you're back from your potty break or you're doing your prod, you know, if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer those for you before we get back to the training. Happy to do that. Would now be a good time to get your packages and get your questions answered. David, question. Daniel, go ahead. Talk to me. How do I get my login? Reach out to Stephanie, and Stephanie will walk you through the process of getting you set up. Yeah. Brandon and Stephanie are behind the scenes, making sure everybody gets what they need. That's Seth, isn't there? There's some talk about me in my own chat. How do we reach out to Stephanie? You go to 858. Hold on a second. Let me do this. 282-4663. Let me go ahead and 858-282-4663. Renegade reframing used to be titled what do we used to call CPI? CPI 3. It was Secrets of Conversational Belief Change. Objection Obliteration. We changed the title because it didn't really encompass everything that the course did. So we changed it from Objection Obliteration to Renegade Reframing. David the Dow says, David, I have real world hypnosis identity by design already. Can I buy the package and switch it out for something else? Yes, that was what I wanted to mention. If you already own any of the products on this list, anything on here, and you want to take advantage of this package today, all you got to do is let Stephanie know what program you already have. And as long as the price point matches, then you can swap it out. So just reach out to Stephanie and she will help you through that process. When's the course where #1 Guru Master David reveals all his coolest secret knowledge on how to be the best what specifically, Allegra, Kitty? All right, it's 6:09. You guys can continue to work with Stephanie. I'm going to jump back. It's now time to learn how to reprogram and work with their bodies and minds. Is that okay? I'll check back on this periodically just to remind you guys. Okay. All right. So let's go back to this whole pleasure idea, this ability to alter your state. First and foremost, we have this concept in Planet Dave we call body-centered energy psychology. And there are certain fundamental principles that go along with that. Everything human beings do is in response to a feeling. It's either a feeling they want more of or a feeling they want a whole lot less of. Okay. So one of the things that I want you to understand, and this is especially true in the realm of trauma. I do a lot of trauma therapy, a lot of trauma healing work and things of that nature. Now, a lot of you may know who Milton Erickson is. A lot of you may not. Most conversational hypnosis in the United States, especially from an NLP perspective, traces back to a man named Dr. Milton Erickson. There was another gentleman by the name of Dave Dobson, who was also very instrumental in the formation of the NLP approach to conversational hypnosis. But Dr. Erickson was easily the most well-known, the most published. And one of the things that Dr. Erickson discovered was this, and this is a very, very, very important piece of information that you must have if you want to clear your shit and get good at hypnosis. He said, and I've found this to be true, all moments of trauma are moments of self-hypnosis. Understand what I said? All moments of trauma are moments of self-hypnosis. So if we understand that piece and we combine it with the concept of that everything human beings do is based on a feeling somewhere in their body. If all I do when I want to access an issue is point to where I feel it, I automatically go into trance. Do you understand that? The moment you point to where you feel something, You're in trance to some degree. The moment you engage your play pretend faculty, you automatically go into trance. The moment you link external awareness and internal awareness, you automatically go into trance. Do the Tao says, I bought it. David, can I switch out identity by design? Yes, just reach out to Stephanie and she'll help you with that. So let's go back to two things. Remember at the first part of the training, I had you remember a time in your life when you felt the most amazing pleasure ever. You guys remember that? And I said, what did I have you do? I had you see what you saw, hear what you heard, smell and taste what you smell and you taste. And then there was a feeling, right? We call that cortical activation. When I say see, hear, smell, taste, feel, every time I say one of those words, a different part of your brain activates. Are you with me so far? The moment I start activating different parts of your brain synergistically, you go into trance. So let's look at how many trance multipliers we have. A, point to where you feel it. B, pretend. Visual, auditory, kinesthetic, olfactory, gustatory. There's 7 pieces that put you in trance like that on their own. When you stack them, you get a whole that's greater than the sum of the parts. You see, one of the reasons that people have trouble with hypnosis is because they think they know what hypnosis is. They think they know what hypnosis feels like. But we're not really talking about hypnosis. What we're talking about is altered states of consciousness, the ability to get every part of your neurology integrated, communicating, and focused on a particular outcome. So when you take the different elements that we're teaching you and you put them together in a very specific way, you get a massive directed force for change in your neurology. Okay? Now, you're going to keep hearing me go back to VAKOG. VAKOG is what we call the primary encoding system. Every belief that you have, every memory that you have, every experience that you remember, everything you make up is built out of visual, auditory, kinesthetic, olfactory, and gustatory data. Now, each of those pieces of data act like a computer program and tells your neurology how to let you experience that information. Are you with me so far? If you're with me, just type it in the chat. Okay. Cool. Okay. So I think I have a graphic that helps me to illustrate this a little bit. But I want us to go through the trance process first. So the moment I access a feeling and I turn it into a color, I create a trance. Does that make sense? Yes or yes? Okay. Now, one of the things that we want to do with our trances is we want to create the kind of a trance that maximizes our body's ability to learn and overwrite old programs. The way that we do that is by amplifying pleasure feelings. Right? So if you remember what I had you do, remember a time when, point to where you feel it, and then I had you manipulate a picture. Remember that one? But the second one, as I had you point to where you felt it, turn it into a color. Imagine that color floating above your head, fill the room with it, breathe it through your whole body. Do you remember that process? Okay, so let's play with this again. I want you to close your eyes. I want you to remember that wonderful pleasure color that you had. Close your eyes, take a deep breath in. Imagine a beautiful ball of that pleasure energy floating above your head. Notice how the feelings in your body shift and change as with every breath you take and every beat of your heart. That beautiful ball of energy begins to grow. begins to expand, begins to fill the entire room from floor to ceiling, from wall to wall, and all points in between. Notice how it wraps itself around you like an amazing blanket of pleasure, a cocoon, a shield, a suit of armor, insulating and protecting you from all negativity, all less than pleasurable feelings, real or imagined, while at the same time flooding your mind, flooding your body, flooding your spirit with everything he most wants and everything he most needs in an infinite, ever-expanding, and unlimited supply. And when you know you've got that, I want you to breathe that amazing pleasure color through your entire being. Let it fill you up like water fills up a bottle, like fluid fills up a test tube, like hot air or helium fills up a balloon. Anchor it in so fully, so completely, no force in the universe can turn it off or take it away, not even you. And when you know you've got that, test it. Try to turn it off, try to take it away. Notice what happens instead. Type in the chat what you discover. Okay. So Andrew, when you say resistance, does that mean it doesn't go away? Feeling good, filled with light, I'm pretty sure. Peace and calm, didn't really want to, right? Yeah, exactly. Yeah, perfect. In other words, you're stuck feeling good now, aren't you? Right? So all you have to do to go into a powerful oxytocin-laden state is remember a time when you felt tremendous pleasure. That's right, Dayar, you can't turn it off. Now, the more you practice this, the more powerful it gets, the more powerfully and stronger those feelings get, okay? This is a very, very powerful way to go into a practical altered state that integrates mind and body and allows you to access a construct we're going to teach you about in just a moment called the proprioceptive grid. Now, before we get into the proprioceptive grid and how to play with it, I want to talk about how to do some uncovering and how to dialogue with your autonomic nervous system. You see, Chase Hughes, one of my colleagues in the influence fields, said it best. Your nervous system, your autonomic nervous system, does not speak English. Right? It doesn't understand French. It doesn't understand English. It doesn't understand German. When it communicates via the primary encoding system: visual, auditory, kinesthetic, olfactory, gustatory, okay? And it creates shapes and colors and sounds and smells and tastes and feelings in a construct we call a holograph. And play with my audience, and I ask them this trick question. I ask them, what are thoughts made out of? And I get all kinds of really interesting answers. Some people say energy, and some people say emotions, and some people say abstract concepts. And functionally speaking, your thoughts are made out of 5 distinct building blocks, plus or minus 1. And those are visual, auditory, kinesthetic, and olfactory data, okay? So your beliefs are built this way. Your daydreams are built this way. Your fantasies are built this way. Everything that you can describe is built from these fundamental building blocks. Now, in our identity by design programs, in our integrative NLP trainings, we go deep dive into this system. We don't have time to show you all the nuances of it here, but we want to teach you how to work with it. Okay, and the first thing is you have to enter a state of integrated mind and body. We do that through what we call color breathing, which is the exercise we just did. Name a feeling, activate 5 cortexes, point to where you feel it, turn it into a color, breathe it through your body. Now, here's what I'd like you to do right now. I'd like you to just get your body, remember the moment when you were feeling that intense pleasure? Stand the way you were standing in that moment. Close your eyes. Imagine that beautiful ball of pleasure energy floating above your head. Fill the room, wrap it around you, breathe it through your body, and tell me what happens. Type that in the chat. I want to make sure you've got this before I move on to the next piece. And when you're done, just type done in the chat. Cool. Excellent. Serenity, like that. Excellent. Perfect. Now, that is one of the fastest trance inductions you can do, and it's one of the most important for personal change work, and I'll tell you why. When the body experiences pleasure, it secretes a cocktail of hormones: oxytocin, serotonin, dopamine. Oxytocin specifically activates a process in your body known as neuroplasticity. What it literally does is it allows you to rapidly install new programs and overwrite old ones. So the more pleasure you feel, the more pleasure you generate in your body, and it doesn't matter what level of pleasure you generated when you did this exercise, the more you do it, the stronger it will get over time. So there's a lot to be said for repetition of this exercise, right? Yeah, it's important to be standing properly. We'll talk about that more in Identity by Design and Killer Influence and Stealth CPI. So you'll learn about the importance of posture. It's good when your eyes roll to the back of your head. Is that a state? Yeah, I would say so. I would say so, right? So again, I'm not a pleasure police, so I don't care what the pleasure is that you're bringing up. As long as it's juicy and it makes you happy, it's going to make every piece of change work that you do far more powerful. We want to activate our sense of playful pretend, right? We want to activate a sense of increasing focus and concentration. Now, for those of you who think they know what I mean by focus, here's what I mean by focus and absorption. How many of you have ever seen a movie? Yes or yes? Type it in the chat. People always laugh when I ask this, right? Maybe you're at the movie theater, right? You got a big bucket of popcorn in one hand, your best guy or your best girl in the other. You're walking down the aisle, wondering which one's going to be more fun, right? And you sit down in the movie theater seat. The lights go down, the curtain opens, the movie starts. For the next 10 or the next hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours, you're completely absorbed in that movie. Can you tell me at what moment you became completely absorbed in that movie? The answer should be no, because if you were absorbed and focused in that movie, you don't know when it happened. That's what we're looking for. If as you go through these processes, there's a part of you kind of sitting outside wondering how well you're doing, that's the part that isn't focused and absorbed. So ignore it and go back to being playful and pretend, right? Okay, so that's what we're going for when we talk about absorption and focus and playful. Bring the pleasure into your body, that activates neuroplasticity. And now we play pretend by starting by pointing to where we feel it. So the first thing that has to happen is you have to understand how your neurology answers questions. Okay, so when you activate your body, when you talk to your neurology and you ask it for information, your unconscious mind always answers first. First impressions are always right. It always answers you honestly. It always feels like you're making it up. You always have an urge to edit what just came up. It's never loud. It's always quiet or off in the distance, like a whim or a notion in the back of your mind. And it's almost never linear. Many times when the advanced portions of Identity by Design and regression training that we do, we say, go back to the very first scene, situation, or event that is the source, the beginning, the root cause of XYZ problem. 1, 2, 3, there's the feeling. Are you inside or outside? 9 times out of 10, they wind up 0 to 5 years old, which is one of the most important time periods of a person's life. But it's almost never where they expected to go. Someone comes into my training, my clinic, they say, I got divorced at 30. I'm 37, 30 years old. All of a sudden, they're 5 years old watching their parents argue. Your unconscious mind does not organize information and events based on time. It organizes it based on what they have in common, context, and similarity. And that's why many times when you ask the unconscious mind to take us back, you wind up someplace else. Okay, so I'm letting you know those things right up front. I'll show you let me show you the screen real quick, and you can take a screenshot of this if you want to. Dialoguing with the unconscious mind. So you might want to take a screenshot of this. Your unconscious mind always answers first, usually non-verbally. It always answers honestly. It always feels like you're making it up. You always have an urge to edit what just came up. It's never loud. It's always off in the distance, like a whim or a notion. And finally, it's never linear. Many times where you end up is not where you expected. So when those things happen, it's okay. Once you understand this, what's possible? You can remove limiting beliefs. You can get rid of negative emotions. You can overcome procrastination and resistance, program your future, become the best version of yourself, and get the life that you want. But it starts here. Because if you don't know how to talk to the other part of your neurology and you don't understand how it answers you, you'll miss the information. Because your conscious mind will try to drown it out, revise it, and edit it. Are we clear on this part so far? Your unconscious mind always answers first, always answers honestly, always feels like you're making it up. You always have an urge to edit what just came up, right? If you've ever been doing trance work and a person says, go back to the scene, situation, or event, or go someplace and something else pops up and your mind goes, that's not it. The part of your mind that said, that's not it, is the editing factor of your conscious mind. What came up first was the right information. It just wasn't linear. And we need to understand that your unconscious mind, your autonomic nervous system, is not a linear entity. It gives your conscious mind the illusion of linearity. So when we start to dialogue with ourselves, we need to understand that. For those of you who see clients and you do any kind of directed trance work, if you would just teach your clients these 6 things, you would remove 80 to 90% of all the trouble you have with resistance to trance and having to quant hypnosis for 35, 40 minutes and get rid of all the myths. Because the minute I described what they were going to experience and then they experienced it, it validated every single thing. And my authority in their world went up. The compliance went up. The transformations were massive. Okay. This is something that for those of you who are going to do change work, and we're talking about change work on yourself first, but if you're working with clients, this is huge. This is huge. It's huge, it's huge, right? Sorry, I had a moment there. It's gone now. So that's first and foremost. Everything human beings do is in response to a feeling. That feeling is going to have a body location. Okay. We call this body-centered energy psychology, right? There are 5 or 6 different concepts that go into this. Some of the most important ones, somatic address. When I had you remember something and point to where you feel it, the moment you pointed to where you feel it, you found the somatic address. You found the location where all the information that's disseminated throughout the body is stored. We call it point and fix therapy, right? So I had you remember a time in your life when you felt this most amazing pleasure. I did cortical activation, visual, auditory, kinesthetic, olfactory, gustatory. I had you point to where you feel it. Had you turn it into a color, fill the room with it, wrap it around you, breathe it through you, right? What I did there, the moment we pointed to where we felt it, we activated the somatic address. We activated the node where all the different pieces of information that are spread throughout your body come together to create your emotion and your behavior. Is that clear? If you're with me, just type that in the chat. I want to make sure, I don't want to leave anybody behind, because once we start getting into the dynamics of the system, we start rolling out the techniques, we're going to move pretty fast. Cool. All right. When you guys were doing the frame exercise, making the picture bigger, making it smaller, moving it forward, moving it out, did you notice things changing in your body? Yes or yes? Okay. We're going to be working with that phenomena very, very shortly. Okay. We're going to use it. And you're going to find that if you can point to where you feel it, reach out and touch it, you can change it. We call the act of pointing to where we feel it, reaching out and touching it, the somatic bridge. In other words, we're bridging one division of our neurology, which monitors everything that goes on inside of us, to the division of our neurology that creates and projects things outside of us. We call that proprioception. You guys with me so far? When it's inside of us, it's called interoception. When it's outside of us, it's exteroception or proprioception. When we take our hands and touch the spot and then touch the spot, we activate more brain pathways to that information. Okay. Now, when you get to vibrational influence, I'll teach you some other things about this that are really cool. If you're into that woo-woo stuff, that works, right? So we call this part somatic bridge, right? Somatic bridge. And as long as we somatically bridge, we create a mechanism that allows us to amplify, like a volume knob or a dimmer switch, the intensity and the meaning of an experience. And you'll understand how that works very, very shortly. But are you clear on why we're doing what we're doing? I'm giving you a little bit of the how, not necessarily the why, but the how. Okay. So we've talked about somatic address. We've talked about somatic bridge. I want to talk to you now about something we've been doing this entire time, but I haven't explicitly talked about. We call it somatic engagement. Somatic engagement means that whatever you're imagining, you treat it as a real object and you act out the changes, right? If going back to our frame drill, right? I had you point to where you feel it, reach out and touch it, trace the outline of it with your hands, right? As if there was something tangibly there. Vibrationally speaking, there is, right? And then I had you do what? I had you make it bigger, physically moving it. I had you make it smaller, move it in, move it out, move it up, move it around, throw it behind you, bring it back, right? You're acting these things. If you were smart, you acted these things out. Now, one of the reasons that somatic engagement is so important is because when the body starts doing the movements, 90% or more of the entire system goes along. And it's just a matter of time before the acting out of the change overwrites the other 10%. I found this out by accident when I was in acupuncture school, and there was an exam, a practical exam for my body work course that I was in. I didn't have a partner for, and I hadn't had a chance to study, and I had like 20 minutes to get the practice, and I didn't have a partner. And so what I literally did, I'm standing in line waiting to go in. I imagined somebody here, and I started doing the shoulder routine. I started doing the hip routine. I started doing the neck. I think I also did low back, right? And at some point, remember I said for the first 5 minutes, you know it's just a stick. 6.5 minutes later, it's a real gun. You're really Rambo, and you're really shooting bad guys. Well, that's exactly what happened to me. I started working on this imaginary dude. And then I forgot it was imaginary. 15 minutes later, I come out of trance dripping with sweat, and everybody in the line is looking at me like, because I'm literally dancing with nobody, but I forgot there was nobody. Okay. That was my aha moment, which it shouldn't have been, but because I've been doing that in the martial arts for decades, but I never translated this concept beyond the martial arts, what we call kata. Anytime the body starts to act out the change, the only variable is time before the entire system buys in, right? You guys have all heard about the spinning technique that I do. I was up in LA many, many years ago. I just come out with the spinning technique, and I was trying to teach this to a guy who absolutely did not believe it. Did not believe it. And you know, sometimes you ask somebody to do something and they just kind of humoring you, but they're not really buying in. So I said, point to where you feel it. Notice there's a color. He goes, take it out, hold it in your hands. And you know, you can tell he wasn't into it. He's like, okay, now what direction is it moving? Like this. Notice it, grab it with both of your hands. Okay, now make it the opposite of what it was. Now spin it and double the spin. He's literally looking like this. About 30 or 45 seconds into it, this starts to happen. He slams it back in. He breaks out in a sweat. Seth, I think you were there for that. And he goes, holy shit, what just happened? Right? did not believe it, but he got the body engaged even a little bit. And it was just a matter of time. The rest took over and he got change, right? So this is one of the big deals. Anytime you can get people acting out the change, everything else is time and repetition. Once you've got the neurology, notice how we're stacking all these different things. This is one of the reasons why our processes are so fast and so powerful, because it gets all of the neurology synergistically interacting with itself, right? Synergistically acting with itself. So somatic bridge, or somatic address, where do we feel it? Somatic bridge, interior to exterior. Somatic engagement, acting out the change. Are you with me so far? Type in the chat if you're with me. Perfect. Perfect. Well done. Okay. Last piece on the body-centered energetic part in terms of concept I want you to get. There's another concept that we work with a lot called the somatic search engine. Now, one of the things you need to understand about every division of the human nervous system is that it is hardwired to seek an answer to any question that you ask, regardless of how stupid the question is. Okay? You know, one of my mentors used to use this example, right? You ever met anybody who says something like this? Why does this always happen to me? Maybe you've done that, right? Every time your neurology hears that question, there's a little part of you downstairs going, oh, he wants a list. And it gives you all the reasons why you deserve the shitty thing happening to you, right? Conversely, if you ask yourself a question like, why do I really deserve to have everything I want in life? Your neurology will answer that too. Just as readily, just as happily. Because the neurology is a question answering device. You're moving through the world asking questions and getting answers. So I'm going to give this to you in a big picture. The quality of your life will be determined by the quality of the questions that you ask. By the quality of the questions. Now in Hidden Laws of Attraction, included in your bonus package, we actually have a whole, this is something I taught on off the top of my head because I had it in storage forever. It was one of the most empowering parts of the training everybody had. They were amazed by it. In fact, I put a video of a clip from that training up on YouTube. We talked about manifestation and affirmation, right? So you can go actually see some of that, or you can get the whole course as one of your free bonuses. But it was amazing. People were just blown away by how to utilize that mechanism to get more of what you want and become the person you want to be. It's just nobody taught us how this system works. Now, when you start asking your unconscious mind for information, this is the thing you need to understand. It accesses all of the information related to what you've asked about, but it only gives you the specific thing that you asked for. So if I say point to where you feel it, notice there's a color connected to that experience. What color would that be for you, first impression? It's going to access the sounds, the smells, the tastes, the feelings, the volumes, right? It's going to access a lot more information than just the color. But it's only going to give you the color. You follow me so far? Because there's too much information there for the conscious mind to process at one time. So the secret to this somatic search engine concept is if you want to facilitate a deeper level of absorption in what you're doing, ask more questions. You follow me so far? You follow me? Yes or yes? Now, I use a minimalist approach to this. I ask for one or two things because that's usually all I need. But if I feel like the person's having trouble, if they're not as absorbed in the process as I want them to be, I'll ask more questions. I'll say, what color is it? I say, take it out, hold it in your hand. Does that have any weight, temperature, or texture? Any size or shape? The more of that information I ask for, the more of it's going to pop up. And it's going to happen first. It's going to be honest. And it's going to feel like they're making it up, but it'll be real. You see how it all kind of comes together for us? Yes or no? Okay. So somatic search engine always gives you what you ask for, facilitates absorption. Somatic address is where all the feelings come together to create the behaviors and the emotional experience in conscious awareness. Somatic bridge allows you to integrate inside and outside. Somatic engagement allows you to overwrite any resistance the conscious mind may be generating to the change. Okay, so that's the big picture. Now let's look at the system. Okay, let's look at this. By the way, this is a study from Finland, shows you where all the feelings in the body are stored. Okay, here we go. Now, when you encode information, it's encoded in the primary encoding system. We call it VACOG. That information is simultaneously locked in the body, but it's projected outward through a combination of your proprioceptive neurology, your heart nervous system, and your mirror neurons. So this particular picture is from heartmath.org, and it's a representation of the electromagnetic field generated by the heart. Now, one of the things you need to understand about this particular field is that the heart is constantly emitting an electromagnetic field that is measurable with instruments up to 8 feet or more in diameter. And within that field that it's sending out, that electromagnetic pulse that it's sending out is emotional information. So much so that when two people get in a specific vicinity of each other, their heartbeats will start to communicate. If you go to heartmath.org, there's a free ebook that they're giving away. Go to chapter 6. And it will tell you how the heart radiates emotional information to the hearts of other people, or to the brains of other people, actually, that people pick up on, and these people start to synchronize. So two hearts literally beat as one. Now, this field is depicted as a torus, which is probably closer to the truth, but when I envision it, or when I visualize it, I see it more like this. This is called the proprioceptive grid, the generic coding system. Now, you've all already had experience with this, okay? When I had you point to where you feel it and reach out and touch it, let me make this picture bigger, okay? If you take the center line of the body and draw an axis through it, okay? Anything in the frontal hemisphere of the body is a system that is a file, for lack of a better word, that is open. Hold on a second. That is open, active, and running. Okay. You may remember that I had you take that picture of that pleasure. Remember, we had you remember a pleasurable feeling? Reach out, touch the picture. You guys remember I asked you to do that? Type that in the chat if you remember I asked you to do that. Okay. Then what did I have you do? I had you play with it, didn't I? I had you make it bigger, make it smaller. I had you move it closer to the body. I had you move it further away from the body. When we do this, we're moving from, remember we talked about identification earlier? When we move it, when we make it bigger, we turn up the volume. When we bring it closer, we turn up the volume. When we move it behind us, the neurology reclassifies that information as closed, over, or complete. Now, pretty much every single one of you, when you did this process, noticed a significant change, A, when you made the picture bigger and closer. True or not true? When you moved it behind you, what happened to the feeling? When you moved it behind you, what happened to the feeling? Got smaller, decreased, went away, got smaller, not as strong. Perfect. Now, here's why I call this a generic coding system. I didn't tell any of you to make that happen. I didn't tell you to make the picture, make the feeling less intense. I didn't tell you to make the picture, make the feeling stronger. All I had you do was change an attribute of the picture and or move it. That's all I did. Okay. Those of you who want to grab our package and get a deeper dive into this system, you can go to the link at the bottom of the page there, or in your chat. Hold on a second. Hold on a second. I want to put this in the YouTube chat for people.
Daddy?
Hold on a second.
Can I come in?
No, I'm still doing my webinar, sweetie. That's my daughter. Okay, hold on a second. I lost my YouTubers.
I'll give you 5 minutes, then I'm coming back to check.
Okay, there you go. Okay, David, Shashikala, go ahead and post your question and I'll go back and look at it. So I didn't have to ask you what you were looking at. I didn't ask you. Okay, so this is your generic coding system. Okay, I didn't ask you what that pleasurable experience was. Right? I didn't tell you make the feeling more intense as you make the picture bigger, did I? I didn't tell you to make it more intense as you brought it closer. I didn't tell you to make the feeling go away when you moved it behind you. Your neurology did that automatically. And by and large, everyone on this webinar had a similar experience. True or not true? Right? This is what I call the generic proprioceptive grid. Now, for every human being has two primary encoding systems in their body. Both are built from VAK. However, one is stock. In other words, if you're an off-the-rack human being, this will probably work for you. However, over time, you develop a personalized programming system. Now, I'm going to give you an experience of that right now. We're going to do this by utilizing the body-centered energy psychology principles, the dialoguing with the unconscious mind principles, and it becomes very, very simple. All you have to do is name a situation and experience the process. Now, here's how it works. If there were a place in your body where you stored things that were true at one time but are completely false now, and you could reach out and touch the space where those things are stored, where would you reach out and touch? First impression, reach out and touch it. When you do that, once you've got it, take both of your hands, trace the outline of that place, that picture with both of your hands so you know how big it is. And what I'd like you to do, you touched your heart, reach out and touch, okay, that's fine. So things that were true once but no longer true, that's weird, touching your heart. Anyway, so you have this place where you put things, like I was in 3rd grade once and I'm not anymore, right? You have a place, it's right out here. Now, I don't have everybody in front of me, but I guarantee you, by a show of hands, how many people pointed to their right? How many people pointed to their left? How many people pointed up? How many people pointed down? Type it in the chat. Type it in the chat where you pointed. Left, down, up. Keep going. Type it in. I want you guys to see this. Right, left, left up, left down, front, high, right. Notice here's the takeaway. Notice you're all pointing in different locations for the same information. This is how your neurology personally codes things in your life, right? Every single one of you will do this a little bit differently. You have a location. Let me go back to my graphics here. So this is your general grid, right? We're going to be working with that one first. This is your personal coding system. So some of you, when I asked you to point to a specific experience, pointed up here, right? Some of you pointed over here. Some of you were right here. Some of you were here. Some of you were here. You were all over the place. Why? Because it's your personal way of doing it, right? Some of you put it back here, and that's fine. But notice that the vast majority of you were different, right? This is what I mean. Now, this vibrational field of information has an unlimited storage capacity, right? In vibrational influence, we'll teach, and it's based on physics. But for right now, the only thing you need to know is that for any state, process, experience, or concept that you can name, there is a corresponding body location and proprioceptive and grid location where that information is accessible and stored. Okay. John Wick is asking, laughing mask off, why is there a green screen with a fake bookshelf? That's actually, and Daniel actually, Alex actually answered it. It's actually a photograph of my actual bookshelf that is downstairs. And I moved my studio, I moved my studio out of the garage over the summer because it got way too hot, but I missed my books so much that I took a picture of the bookshelf and I use it as a background, right? Okay, so, are you guys following me with this whole grid concept? Now, how do we use that? How do we use that? Okay. For this first exercise, well, I'm going to give you guys a choice. Do you guys want to work with the generic proprioceptive grid first, or do you want to work with your personal grid first? Which would you rather do first? We're going to do both. It's just a question of which one you want to do first. So type in the chat which one you'd like to work with first. Personal, okay. Personal, okay. Either's fine, okay, okay. But need both, yes, you do. You need both. All right, so here's what we're gonna do. I want you to take a moment, think of something that is on a shittiness scale of 0 to 10, has an intensity of about 1 to 3. Don't go for any Godzilla-sized stuff here because we want to practice this, right? And what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to click the link at in the chat right there. Right. What I'd like you to do is I'd like you to notice when you think about that thing that is true in your life at the moment, or it bothers you, for lack of a better word. We'll just work with that. Point to where you feel it. And if there were a picture floating in the space around you that represents that feeling, that thing, if you could reach out and touch that picture, where would you reach out to touch it? Go ahead and reach out and touch it. Trace the outline of it with both of your hands so you know how big it is. Make it bigger and notice what happens to the feeling. Make it smaller. Notice what happens to the feeling. Bring it closer to your body. Notice what happens to the feeling. Put it back to its original location, maybe even a little further away. Notice what happens to the feeling, and type in the chat what happened when you moved it around. Intense, not intense. Okay, perfect. Closer was yuckier. Perfect. By the way, there's no right or wrong answer to this, right? What's important is that you calibrate change. Most people, better than 50%, size and location make it intense. Some people, when they make it bigger, the feeling actually gets weaker. We call those concentrators. When they make the picture smaller, it intensifies the experience. Some people, size doesn't make any difference to them at all, but when they bring it closer, they feel the intensity, right? It's not important how you do it. What's important is that you calibrate and measure how you do it so you know how to change it. Does that make sense? Okay. Cool. Now, scale of 0 to 3 or 0 to 10, rate, 1 to 3 intensity feelings, perfect. Now, put that off to the side for a moment, not literally, but just forget about it for a moment. Think about what you had for breakfast yesterday. And now what I want you to do is I want you to think about something in your life that has absolutely, that you just completely don't give a shit about. Like, if this thing was right up in front of you, you'd be like, and so, right? Again, something that was, you could use something that was true once or no longer true, or something that, you just don't give a shit about. You completely does not faze you, does not even count as a blip on your radar. As you think about that experience, whatever it might be, notice there's a place in your body where the feelings or lack of feelings thereof start, where they grow and where they spread from. Point to where you feel that. If there were a picture floating in the space in front of you, a picture that you could reach out and touch, take your other hand, reach out and touch that area, and take both of your hands, trace the outline of that picture so you know how big it is. And just like before, make it bigger, make it smaller, move it closer, move it back, just so you know where that place is. And when you've got that, type done in the chat. Perfect. Now that you've got that, think about what you had for breakfast yesterday. Now, once you've thought about what you had for breakfast yesterday, I want you to think of that thing that has that bothers you a little bit. Scale of 1 to 3, right? I want you to point to where you feel it, reach out, touch the picture. I want you to reach out, trace the outline of that picture, shrink it down to the size of a postage stamp or even smaller, and then physically take that picture and move it to the location of the shit you just don't give a shit about that doesn't bother you in any way, shape, or form. And notice what happens to the feelings in your body, and then type in what you discover. Gone, right? Freedom, perfect. Classic NLP, right? Perfect, right? Greatly lessened to gone. Boom. Welcome to your personal proprioceptive grid, right? Now, this is a very basic intervention, but here's the secret to it. Going back to our diagram. The secret to this is getting the body engaged and understanding that we can do this for every single thing that we can name. If we can name it and describe it, there will be a grid location somewhere where that information is accessible. Does that make sense? Yes or yes? Perfect. All right. So here's what I'd like you to do right now. I would like you to pick something, starting beyond that means you're processing. I would like you to pick something that has an intensity level of 0 to 3 that you'd like to get rid of. Point to where you feel it, reach out and touch it, and then decide what you would like instead, or what the opposite of what you want to get rid of would be, and ask your somatic search engine, where in your body does that feeling reside? And then point to the picture in the grid around you and find that location. Then all I want you to do is shrink the picture down, shrink the problem picture, and move it. Move it to the new location. This is one level of recoding that we can do with this proprioceptive grid structure. Okay? Just go ahead and do that and type done when you're done. Don't need to. Timothy's asking, you're not changing submodalities. We don't need to. We can, we don't need to. All right, this is a very basic level. And this is basically refiling, right? One of the things you need to understand, and Jake was talking about something called submodalities, right? Each of these pieces, each of these 5 channels of information have sub-distinctions within them. In other words, like if we're talking about the visual system, for example, you might see distinctions like, I don't want to mess up my, you might see distinctions like in the visual system, we might drill down deeper and say, is it in color or black and white? Is the picture moving or still? Right? We can make more and more distinctions, but we don't need to. When we start to do this kind of grid work, we always want to take a minimalist approach. We want to work with the least amount of information necessary to get the change. Okay? So let me make this smaller so it's easier to see. Okay. Timothy Fox is asking, do the modalities auto change when you move them to a new location? They can, Timothy. They can. There's so many things that you can do with this system, it's ridiculous. But here are the main hacks that we want you to have. Remember your body-centered energy psychotherapy concepts: somatic search engine, somatic engagement, somatic bridge. Okay. So this is how you can begin to take things that are bothering you and move them to places where they no longer bother you. Many times, let me go back to face-to-face. Many times when something won't go away, it's not the event that was the problem. It was where we put it. Most of these issues that we have are always about how we've encoded the information, not the event themselves, how we relate to the structures. Does that make sense? Okay, real quick, let's just go ahead and review the offer because a lot of people are having to jump off. We're getting close to our 0 hour. So here's what we got for you. For those of you who are interested, it's the Secrets of Personality Transformation Unit Ultra Mind Control Training Package. It's 14 videos. It's got the 7-stage Identity by Design system plus a manual. The online community with NLP Power Mastermind Mentoring Program is priceless. You're going to get the Identity by Design Hypnotherapy Home Study Course, valued at $1,497 values. We're going to throw in the Hidden Laws of Attraction, Manifestation, and Mind Control Training, $1,497 value. We're going to give you the Stealth CPI Level 1 Universal Persuasion Protocol, right? Stealth CPI Level 1, $1,950 value, free bonus there. Renegade Reframing, Objection Obliteration, $1,950 value. We're going to give that to you free. Super fast action bonuses. You're going to get the Stealth Instant Conversational Hypnosis Crash Course, valued at $997. A 3-month trial to the NLP Power Mastermind Mentoring Program, valued at $594. And you're going to get a free VIP ticket to any single live event in our 2020-2021 calendar, valued at $1,950. Total value, $12,932. Yours today for one low installment of $997 or 3 easy installments of just $397. All you got to do is go to www.nlppower.com/mental training secrets. Jerry, some of them are older, some of them are newer. A lot of them are newer. Okay. The most legit green screen background I've ever seen. Thank you. Right. And stop shouting, Jerry. You don't need to have all caps, right? Okay, so go ahead and jump into that if you're interested. Like I said, the first 15 people are the only 15 people get the VIP ticket. So if you want to get it, do it now, right? Let's go back. Now, one of the things we talked about early on, we talked about safety lessons. You guys remember that? Varen's asking, what's late joiner? Apologize if the answer is right. What specific product covers this grid technique you talked about? Secrets of personality transformation and real world hypnosis, identity by design. Okay. Okay. Oh, sorry, that derailed me. Sorry about that. So, are we clear about this? Is called refiling. In other words, think about moving a file around on your desktop. The best way to really think about this forward segment of your grid is it's a desktop that's open and active running. Anything that you can reach out and touch that you haven't moved behind you is a file that your neurology considers to be open, active, and running. It's taking up system resources. When we take that information and we move it behind us, the neurology now classifies it as done, complete, over. So one of the most useful places to put anything that's bothering you is behind you. Now, this next process is going to use the generic proprioceptive grid, and it targets specific negativity. In other words, if there's something that you're trying to do, and you're trying to get rid of, an action you're trying to take, and for some reason you get to a certain point and you stop, or like one of the best examples is when people are spinning things, right? They point to where they feel it. They notice there's a color. They rate it on a scale of 0 to 10. They say 0 to 10, rate the intensity of the feelings. They say 9. So take it out, hold it in your hands in front of you. Notice what direction it's spinning. Okay, grab it, make it opposite, spin it the other way, spin it, put it back in, and it drops from a 9 to a 2. And then it doesn't go any further, right? That's usually the first red flag that you've got a safety lesson that needs to be removed, or actually it needs to be retained. Sometimes what will happen is you'll take something and you'll spin it down to 0, and a short time later, it'll come back. Also a flag that there's a safety issue that needs retention. So the technique that we use to deal with those kinds of problems where safety lessons are attached is called the magic frame. The way this works, I want you to think of something that you'd like to get rid of. Scale of 0 to 10, do something 0 to 5. I mean, you could do Godzilla if you wanted to, but there's usually other things that we have to clean up along with the one thing. So I like to keep it simple, but you can do these in any way you want, all right? So I want you to think of that thing you want to change, point to where you feel it in your body. And if there were a picture floating in the space around you that represents that feeling, a picture that you could reach out and touch, go ahead and reach out and touch it for me. Let's make sure we've got the right one. Trace the outline of it with both of your hands. Make it bigger. Notice what happens to the feeling. Make it smaller. Notice what happens to the feeling. Does it change? Yes or no? David is asking, what about matrix NLP therapy? I don't know what you mean, Daniel, but I'm happy to. Magic frame is a big one, okay? Now, take this picture, put a big, thick black frame around it. Big, thick black frame, okay? Now, I want you to feel along the base of that frame. You're probably too young to remember when the televisions had real dials and knobs and switches instead of touch screens and remote controls. I'd like you to feel along the base of that frame. I'd like you to notice that there's some knobs, like on an old style television. I want you to find the knob that controls the brightness or the contrast. Turn that knob all the way to the right until the image whites out completely. Notice how that makes you feel. Turn the knob all the way to the left, the image blacks out completely. Notice how that makes you feel. And just let me know which one you like better. Once you know which one you like better, turn that knob all the way to the right or all the way to the left until the image either whites out or blacks out completely. Then what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to take the index finger of your dominant hand, and in glowing golden letters, I want you to write across that whited out screen everything this experience had to teach you, positive or negative, so you can keep all the feelings and let everything else go. Okay. Now, the best part is sometimes there's a part of you that knows exactly what to write. So just go ahead and write. Sometimes you don't consciously have a clue what you're writing, but there's a part of you that always knows. So just start that finger moving across that whited out screen. Some people just draw squiggles. Some people just draw pictures. Every now and then some recalcitrant motherfucker writes fuck you, fuck you, fuck you across the screen. Some people write with both hands simultaneously, like they're writing Chinese and Hebrew at the same time. However your body does it is perfectly okay. But I want you to write in glowing golden letters across that whited out screen everything that experience had to teach you, so you can keep all the lessons and let everything else go. If feelings come up, put them on the screen. As they come up, they come out. As you feel them, you reveal them. As you reveal them, you heal them. Solved, dissolved, and resolved from the body. Solved, dissolved, and resolved from the mind for all the right reasons. And then, when you know you're done, only when you know you're done, reach up, shrink that picture down to the size of a postage stamp or even smaller. Notice it float up over the top of your head, back beyond the horizon. And you know the sound a nail gun makes when it's banging in those nails, or a hammer's banging in those nails. Feel it nailed back there for all eternity, impossible to come back. And when you feel it nailed back there for all eternity, impossible to come back, test it. Try to bring that feeling back and notice what happens instead. And when you're satisfied, type what you've discovered in the chat. Cool. Jackie Jack is, will this help with helping yourself heal physically? Yes. Because every experience that we have, every subjective experience that we have is encoded with these same building blocks. And once you understand how these building blocks interact with your neurology, you can change anything you can point to. Most of it's gone. Perfect. Yes, Jerry, you can use it for a present toothache. Go ahead and play with it. Right? Ernest says, I feel so light. Alana says, elation. Agnes says, it's gone. Sandra says, feeling lighter. Right? Now, how many of you is it completely gone? The rest of you, is there anything residual left? If there's some residual, just type it in the chat. I'll show you what to do next. All gone? Okay. Okay. Now, remember the very first thing I taught you about color breathing? Close your eyes, point to where that residual feeling in your body is. Scale of 0 to 10, rate the intensity of the feeling. And if there were a color connected to that residual feeling, what color would it be for you, first impression? Whatever color it is, just make a note of it. Now, somatic search engine. If your unconscious mind, your autonomic nervous system, your higher mind, your higher self could send you a feeling, a color, a frequency, or a vibration that would completely dissolve those residual feelings away to the point of 0 or even better, in such a way that you get exactly what you want instead, what color or colors might it send you? First impression, type it in the chat. Excellent. The minute you have a color, close your eyes. Imagine a beautiful ball of that energy floating above your head. Notice how the feelings in your body shift and change as with every breath you take and every beat of your heart. That beautiful ball of color begins to glow, begins to grow, begins to expand, begins to fill the entire room, from floor to ceiling, from wall to wall, and all points in between. Notice how it wraps itself around you like an amazing blanket of resolution, a cocoon, a shield, a suit of armor, insulating you, protecting you from all residual feelings, real or imagined, while at the same time flooding your mind, flooding your body, flooding your spirit with everything it most wants, everything it most needs, in an infinite, ever expanding and unlimited supply. And when you know you've got that, breathe those amazing colors through that residual area and notice what happens. Take all the time you need. Let that energy flow into that area like hot water flowing over an ice cube. Notice how those areas begin to shift and change as with every breath you take and every beat of your heart. That energy fills you up from the top of your head to the tips of your toes. And when you know it's completely gone, type completely gone in the chat to let me know, and we'll continue with the next part of our process. Take all the time you need. There's no rush. Gone, and damn, I'm sitting up straight. Completely gone. There will be a recording of this, yes. Gone, gone, gone. Excellent. So now you've got 3 techniques, have you not? Rick Me says, wow. Alana says, gone. Perfect. Okay. So if I want you to go back and really review, Becca's dad says gone. I want you to go back and review these videos, especially the whole piece, but notice how we're engaging and integrating all of the concepts that I gave you. Joy Stormer says gone with some tears. Pankaj says done. Rick Me says wow. Is this useful? Is this helpful? Would you like to learn more? Would you like to learn more? Sandra says gone with tears. Brandon says, absolutely. Yes, master. I'm just a dude in a vest. Why does the 3 to 5 connect to Godzilla? Because that's just how there's something that those 3 to 5s have in common with your Godzilla level issues. We call that body mapping. And so remember, your unconscious mind groups things by what they have in common, right? If you can do them with the 3s and the 5s, you can do them with the 9s and the 10s. It's the same mechanics. It's just that when here's an important piece to self-development or personal work, personal alchemy, as I like to call it. One of the problems that we have with self-help is that we instinctively take information that we have no practice with, we have no history of success with, and we're always pitting them against the things we've been doing the longest and the strongest. And we get completely overwhelmed, and we don't have the practice and the history of success with the techniques. We're literally many times reading it out of the book while we're trying to take on Godzilla. It's Bambi versus Godzilla. And so you get overwhelmed. You have to flip the script on that. You have to create a level playing field in the change work you're doing, so that by the time you're taking on Godzilla level stuff, you've got a Godzilla level technique. And the way you do that is through repetition and working on smaller issues first. Now, that's not how our neurology weights things in terms of priority. It always gives the most heinous, problematic stuff priority. So that's why when you ask people to clear stuff, they always put the most heinous things in their life, because we're weighted that way. It's got the most charge to it, so we got to deal with that first. But if you want to be good at self-work, you've got to flip the script. You've got to take a technique that you have a level 1 or 2 experience with and practice on level 1 and 2 problems till you've reached a certain level of competence and confidence with that. Then you take on the level 3s. Then you take on the level 4s and the level 5s. And by the time you hit the 5s, the 6s, and the 7s, your neurologist says, fuck, I can do this. Boom. And it just whacks it. A lot of times it'll just automatically purge the stuff from you, right? So don't be afraid of the Godzilla techniques, but remember, you have to train. You have to train your neurology and exhibit state control and structure. And that's what we taught you. The first thing we taught you was how to enter state, and then how to access structure and integrate them, right? That's what we began the webinar with. You guys remember that? Yes or yes? Yeah, it's again, remember what I said? Always last person, not linear. It'll take you by surprise. And the part of you that's surprised is your conscious mind. You can't say heinous around a 6-year-old boy. All right, so I got time for one more technique before we go. But just again, since we're coming up towards the end, we have less webinar left than more. So I'd like to once again just give you an opportunity. If you haven't already made the plunge, Secrets of Personality Transformation is the webinar, the special program that we're offering. And it's the 14 video, 7-stage Identity by Design system plus the manual. It's $2,497 value. The bonus video is Identity by Design Hypnotherapy Home Study Course. It's a $1,497 value. We're going to give you that free. You're going to get the Hidden Laws of Attraction, Manifestation Mastery, and Mind Control Mastery Home Study Course, $1,497 value. You're going to get the Stealth CPI Level 1 Real World Conversational Hypnosis System, $1,950 value. You're going to get that absolutely free. You're going to get Renegade Reframing and the Art of Objection Obliteration, Speed Conversational Hypnosis and Belief Change, valued at $1,950. We're also going to throw in that fast action bonus for those next 15 who enroll. You're going to get the Stealth Instant Conversational Hypnosis Crash Course, valued at $997. The fast action bonus of NLP Power 3-month Mastermind Trial Membership, valued at $594. And finally, you're going to get that free super VIP ticket to any single live event in our 2020-2021 calendar. Remember that the VIP tickets do not expire. So once you have it, if it takes you 4 years to get back to an event, that ticket is going to be waiting for you, regardless of when you take advantage of it. It doesn't expire. You have it until you use it. It doesn't matter if it's an international event or a local event. Doesn't matter if it's an online event or an in-person event. We would recommend you use it for an in-person event, but you're more than welcome to use it for virtual training. Okay. Total package value today is $12,932.00. You can get it all for one low installment today of just $997, or you can break it up into 3 easy installments of $397. And all you got to do to get yours is go to www.nlppower.com/mental-secrets/ www.nlppower.com/mental/secrets. For those of you in the YouTube channel, that bit.ly link that you see there will take you to the exact same page. If you have questions, you can reach out to Stephanie at nlppower.com, or you can call her directly at 858-282-4663. Oops, that's one too many threes there. 858-282-4663. Okay. All right. Finally, we're going to do, and by the way, last week, we did this webinar a couple of weeks back, and if you need to do Venmo, reach out to Stephanie and see how she wants to handle that. Okay, Venmo might work. So last time we did this webinar, we taught some slightly different techniques. So it might be worth your time to go back to last week's webinar or last month's webinar. I forget how many weeks ago it was, 2 weeks, I think, and review those techniques as well. Again, it's similar content, but we focus and emphasize different things based on the people, right? Okay. Questions on that? Venmo saved me a few times. Yes, I know. All right, so type in the chat where you're at with this. That means I get a new password. Want it all. Of course you do. Anybody else? Okay, you got 58 people left on Zoom. Good? Greedy? So greedy. I'm all good and ready. Okay, very cool. Very cool. All right, let's do this one. Now, remember I said that your neurology, what? You know what? I'm going to give you a choice. I'm going to give you a choice. Do you want to program something into your future, or do you want another tool for cleaning up shit? Which would you rather do? I'll give you a choice. Type it in the chat. Okay. Okay, here, all right, here. Now, to do this, we have to access your personal grid. Okay? So here's the deal. I want you to close your eyes and think about something that happened to you 20 years ago. And if there was a picture floating in the space around you that represents that 20-year experience, a picture you could reach out and touch, take your hand, reach out and touch it. Excellent. Now think of something that happened 10 years in the future from today. 10 years from today. Reach out and touch that picture. Think of something that happened 5 years ago. Touch that picture. Now think of something that happened 5 years in the future. Reach out and touch that picture. Connect the dots. So literally these coordinates might look like this, right? And as you connect the dots, you notice how they describe a line. Now, when you pay attention to the line, there's two things you want to, two things you want to pay attention to. A, does the line pass through any part of your body, even a little bit? Okay. If it does, NLP would call that in time. If the timeline is all outside of your body, like here, NLP calls that through time. Now, functionally, all that really means for us is that through time people tend to be a little bit more present than, or in time people rather, tend to be more present than through time people. Okay? Doesn't mean you're bad. Through time people are always more on time than in time people, just so you know. There's pros and cons to everything. Now, once again, this is where like say Allegra, using Allegra for example, if she points to something that happened 20 years in her past, she may point up here, right? But if I ask K51 to point to something that happened 20 years ago, she may point over here, right? This is why this is a very personal thing. Now, what we're going to do now is I want you to close your eyes, breathe your pleasure energy all throughout your body, all throughout your mind. Let all of those wonderful pleasure feelings come flooding back. And I want you to imagine now that you could take your hands and grab each end of your timeline and pull it straight. So literally, if you have a line that's zigzagging, imagine you could take both ends and just make it straight. I want you to breathe your pleasure color through your entire body. I want you to float up out of your body until you can look down and see your timeline. And what many people notice is when they look down at that line of time, they often see what look like little dominoes. You guys ever seen dominoes in a row or slides in a slide carousel? And they instinctively recognize that each of those slides represents a day, a week, a year, a time in their life. And sometimes the really good times are really bright. Sometimes the bad times are really, really dark. But however your timeline manifests, good and bad, and not so and neutral, that's perfectly okay. I just want you to float up, look down at your timeline, and when you see what I'm describing, or your version of it, however your body does it, I want you to allow your eyes to open for just a moment, float down into your body, allow your eyes to open, and type in "got it" in the chat. Okay, cool. Perfect. Now, here's where it gets fun. Here's what I want you to do. I need you to start to access a couple of filing cabinets for me, vibrationally speaking, right? So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to think of something that you know beyond a shadow of a doubt is 100% incontrovertibly true. Like maybe you know you're a male or a female, right? You know, you've looked at the plumbing, you see it, right? I don't care what gender you associate with. I'm looking at the biology, the plumbing, right? Right. And that's just an example. All right. I'm not trying to be politically incorrect. Well, I am trying to be politically incorrect because I thrive on that shit, but that's a different issue. Right. But I want you to think of something that you know is absolutely 100% true, will always be true, can't be anything but true. Could be as simple as the sun's going to come up every day for the next 100 years. Right. Could be, I know that I have a right arm, right? Whatever it is, I don't care. Make it simple, but incontrovertible. When you've got that, I want you to do two things for me. First and foremost, I want you to point to where the feeling connected to that truth is located. And then I want you to reach out and touch the picture. You jump back to this. So once you know where it is, point to where you feel it, reach out and touch the picture. Okay? Now, trace the outline of that picture with both of your hands so you know how big it is. And here's what I want you to do. I want you to examine that picture. And what I want you to do now is I want you to take an inventory of its attributes. In other words, I want you to notice if it has a frame around it or if it's a panorama. Is it in color or is it in black and white? Is it moving or is it still? Is it two-dimensional or three-dimensional? Is there sound? Is the sound loud? Is it soft? Is it rhythmic? Is it on one side or the other? Is there no sound? Right? I want you to go through as many different attributes of the visual channel, as many different attributes of the auditory channel, as many attributes of the kinesthetic channel, in other words, the feelings. Okay? Go through all the VAKOG, olfactory and gustatory. Make an inventory of it, right? Make sure you know in your mind exactly what those attributes are. Got it? When you got that, take a snapshot so you know exactly what to do. Put it off to the side. Put it off to the side. Think about what you want to program for, what you want to manifest. Okay? Close your eyes. Imagine what that would be like. Imagine what that's like to have it, right? See what you might be seeing in that amazing experience. Hear what you might be hearing. Smell and taste what you might be smelling and tasting. Because when you do that, when you see what you see and you hear what you hear and you smell and you taste what you smell and you taste, there's an awesome feeling that you get. And there's a place in your body where those wonderful feelings start, where they grow and where they spread from. Point to where you feel it. Reach out and touch it. Okay? Trace the outline of that picture with both of your hands so you know how big it is. When you got that, type done in the chat so I know we're all on the same page. Excellent. Now, just like before, I want you to inventory the picture. What are you seeing? Is it in color or black and white? Is it moving or still? Is it three-dimensional, two-dimensional? Are you in it? Are you watching it as if it's through your own eyes? Whatever jumps out at you in terms of the visual attributes of that experience. Now listen to it. Are there any sounds? Are they louder on one side or the other? Is it rhythmic? Is it arrhythmic? Is it noisy? Is it musical? Are there voices? Are there tones? What are they? Now look at the olfactory and the gustatory elements, smells and tastes. And finally, the feelings. What kind of feelings do you get? Right? And take a snapshot of it so you know what those attributes are. And then I want you to put that to the side and bring in the picture of something that you absolutely know is 100% true. Put them side by side and compare them, visuals to visuals, and make the thing you want to manifest have the same attributes as the thing you know is absolutely true. Take a few minutes, make the visuals of the one you want match the visuals of what's true. Make the auditories of what you want match the auditories of what's true. You'll see in a minute. Okay? And just keep changing them. Okay? And when you're all done, when you've changed the V, the A, the O, the G, the K, and the attributes of the picture you want to manifest match the attributes of the picture that you know is true, just type done in the chat and move on. Beautiful. Now, there's two ways that you can do this. We're going to do one that's a little bit different than the one we did last month or 2 weeks ago. Okay. So what I want you to do is I want you to close your eyes. Breathe your trance pleasure energy through your entire being. Let it fill you up like water fills up a bottle, like fluid fills up a test tube, like hot air or helium fills up a balloon. Anchor it in so fully, so completely. No force in the universe can turn it off or take it away. When you know you've got that, let go of your body and float up out of your body, bringing that new picture with you, the thing that you've created to manifest. I want you to float forward in time along that timeline until you're directly over that place in your life where you want this to manifest. And when you know you're there, float down and plug that picture right into your timeline, like plugging a USB drive into a USB slot or a nickel into a slot machine. Just feel it just click in. When you've done that, float down into it, make sure it feels exactly the way you want it to feel, and then float up. Float forward in time, just a little bit, maybe a day, maybe a week, maybe a month. Turn around and look back from the future at the new event that you installed. And notice how it looks, notice how it feels. Notice what's changed in your future as a result of what you've programmed. And then just allow yourself to turn around and float backwards along your timeline until you're hovering over your body, and float down into your body. And when you know you're fully back in your body, allow your eyes to open, emerge from trance, and notice how different you feel. And type in the chat what you noticed, what you discovered. There are so many things we can do with this system. It's crazy. Now, what's interesting about this process is that you don't even have to remember what you plugged in. This works very, very often like a GPS or an autopilot. It will actually steer your neurology towards the outcome. Okay. Is this useful? Is this helpful? Cool. This and more in your webinar package. Right? Lots of cool stuff. Lots of cool stuff. There is so much we can do with these systems. Right? There's so much we can do. Right? There are other ways that we can use this to program futures. And of course, in Identity by Design, we'll show you all kinds of different ways to do that. By the way, for those of you who are interested, let me tell you what we got coming up really quick. No, that's not it. For those of you who are interested in getting face-to-face with me, coming up, I should have done this earlier. I apologize. This is what we got coming up in the next 3 months. For those of you who want to get in a training with me, at the end of this month, October 23rd through the 25th, we've got a 3-day online conversational hypnosis certification boot camp. So if you want to go ahead and use your VIP ticket and join me, you'll be able to get one-on-one training with me in conversational hypnosis. November 6th through the 8th, we've got a face reading level 1 certification, also virtual. We'll be streaming live from San Diego. So if you want to use your VIP ticket for that, you're more than welcome to. And finally, we'll be showing up live in Washington, D.C. at the Real World Hypnosis 5-day hypnotherapy certification boot camp. This will be a combination of the Identity by Design silo, along with some modules on what we call generational trauma, which is trauma that's inherited from ancestors, right? And of course, in January 2020, we'll be doing our Secrets of the Golden Path as a hybrid. So you can use your VIP ticket for any of these or any of the other events in our NLP Power Calendar. Okay. So again, these are just 3. We got probably 20 events coming up in the next 18 months. So if you have any questions, you can reach out to Stephanie at nlppower.com. Cool. For those of you who, again, can't travel because your borders are closed, there is a hybrid training option. You will get a certification. There are a few extra hoops that you have to jump through, but we'll be in, you can use it in 2021 as well, Fight Fearless. Okay, Linda Katan says, sorry, it happens both ways. Didn't want to be off. I missed the context there, but I hope that was good. Okay, so was this fun? Did you learn? Did I live up to the promises that I made at the beginning of the webinar? Now, if you take the things I gave you, the somatic search engine techniques, the body-centered energy psychotherapy, the proprioceptive grid concepts, the 6 dialoguing techniques of the unconscious mind, belief and identity and action, you can make any change you want, but you have to be able to alter your state and act out the change. There are people in the NLP world who say you can do it all in your head, and you may get some degree of change doing that, but you won't get the same degree. It's very, very few people get the same degree of change just doing these things in their head as when you follow the principles we've outlined. Keep your stuff simple. If you can point to where you feel it, reach out and touch it, you can change it. All you got to do is ask the right questions. Okay? So hold on, there's a question here about hybrid trainings. By hybrid, does that mean available online and in person? Or what do you mean by hybrid? Exactly. The hybrid training is basically you log in virtually and you go through the class in real time with everybody else. And what happens is we give you as the virtual participant permission to Zoom record all of your breakouts. So when you break out to do your reps, we give you the ability to record those. And then at the end of the training, you have to submit all of your recorded practice sessions to your proctor who's online. The proctor, the moderator will actually review those videos and make a determination if you've done the required amount of repetitions, if you've gotten the results that we're looking for. And then they'll vet you on it. And then if you pass muster on that, you'll be issued a provisional certificate, which gives you all the rights and privileges of a certified hypnotist, right? And you'll also be issued a free VIP ticket to attend the next available live version of that event, where you can be vetted in person, and then you'll be issued a full certification, just as if you taken the class. But you will get certified, but we're going to make you submit your work. We're going to make you show us that you're doing these things the way we want you to do them, that you're getting the results that we're looking for. Okay, so that's what I mean when I say hybrid. Okay. Cool. All right. So before I go, let me just go ahead and one last time. This is the last call, guys. If you had a good time, please tell people about it. Please go ahead and review all of our previous webinars. We've got lots of stuff that we covered on that webinar we didn't talk about here. We've got lots of stuff here that we covered that we didn't talk about in the previous one. So I always give you the same kinds of content, but I emphasize certain things and so forth. Okay. So once again, for those of you who want to take advantage of this, Secrets of Personality Transformation, the Ultra Mind Control Training and Success Mastery Home Study Course. It's a 14 video set with the 7-stage Identity by Design system, plus the manual. It's $2,497 value. We're going to include free of charge in that the Identity by Design Hypnotherapy Home Study Course, valued at $1,497. We're also going to include the Hidden Laws of Attraction, Manifestation, Mastery, and Mind Control Home Study Course, valued at $1,497. We're going to throw in the Stealth CPI Level 1 Real World Conversational Hypnosis course, $1,950 value. And the Renegade Reframing, Objection Obliteration, and the Art of Speed Conversational Belief Change, valued at $1,950. For those of you who take action next 15, you're going to get that Stealth Instant Conversational Hypnosis Crash Course, valued at $997. You're going to get the NLP Power Mastermind Practice Group Trial, 3-month trial, $594 value with unlimited access for those 3 months to 10 years of archived video footage from every training that we've done. It's a $594 value. And finally, to put the cherry on the Sunday, we're going to give you a free super VIP ticket to any single live event in our 2020 and 2021 event calendar. Now, you're not limited to 2020 and 2021. If it takes you 2, 3, 4 years to use that VIP ticket, it does not expire. And if something happens at the last minute and you can't make it, you just pick up the phone, let us know. We'll move you to a different training. If something happens at the last minute that lets you come to a training and you want to show up, pick up the phone, send us an email, and we will do our best to get you in that training as fast as humanly possible. It does not expire, and you have it until you use it. Total value, $12,932 if you went to the website to buy it today, which you can't. All of it today for this one low installment of just $997, or if you prefer 3 easy installments of just $397. And all you got to do to claim yours is go to www.nlppower.com/mental-secrets. That's www.nlppower.com/mental-secrets. One more time with feeling, www.nlppower.com/mental-secrets, or you can use this bit.ly link. Hold on a second, right here, and that'll take you there too. All right. So I hope you've had a good time. I hope you learned a lot. I want you to go out into the world, start cleaning up your shit, start programming your future. Remember, the difference between a neurolinguistic programmer and a hypnotist, well, there's two really. A, the name, and B, neurolinguistic programmers tend to overcomplicate shit. But if you can point to where you feel it, you follow the principles of semantic engagement, you interact with your proprioceptive grid, and you change things from what you got to what you want instead, and move it to the proper locations, you can change everything, and it just gets more powerful, right? Prime yourself with pleasure, reorganize your entire desktop in terms of your proprioceptive grid, refile things, move them behind you, save the lessons, and you'll discover very, very quickly that you just become more powerful as time goes on. I sincerely hope you had a good time. Like I promised you, this was not going to be a short webinar. I hope we've delivered on the promises that we've made. We've given you the tools to go ahead and attack the things you want to attack and amplify the things you want to amplify and get everything you want by becoming the person who deserves to have them. I love you all. Good night and God bless. We'll see you soon. Once again, go to www.nlppower.com/mental-secrets. Reach out to Stephanie at 858-282-4663 or Stephanie@nlppower.com.